stayed a little off the front lines during the war in Afghanistan. Labour MP Emily Thomberin, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, called it an absolute insult to the 457 British service personnel killed in the conflict, while Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davies said, "How dare he question their sacrifice?" Conservative MP Ben Obis-Jekti, who served in Afghanistan, said it was sad to see our nation's sacrifice and that of our NATO partners held so cheaply. The UK was among several allies to join the US in Afghanistan from 2001 after it invoked NATO collective security clause following the 9/11 terror attacks. That's the news wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
Takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
We don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But this is it.
But if you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around.
Yes,
why you
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
A situation room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament.
He admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii ya muga na leo ingekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So when we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu waulize na swali muuliza mtangala ni aje kwa huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel, a lot in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something we must do.
Right now, you abandon, of course, the narrative of Wilbaro, Mjengo, Mamboga, and all that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting
3 trillion to target loans and so forth.
Like the CDF kit, it's itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM, we thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a bad country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries. Internally, we used to stand and tell you, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you say, now he doesn't. Let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary people went there, listened, looked at him, there was no plenary left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament. So
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament.
When he said, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, he amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda mbali sana hii. So we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu waulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje, kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel, loan and public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's now me talking. Good morning. Good morning. Now, try again. I'm back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too. How is your world today?
My world today is fantastic.
A lot?
Napenda.
Really?
Kabisa.
Something must have happened.
All things considered.
Oh.
Aye.
Okay. You're being grateful. Bless me, Lord, every day. Hey, every day. Every day. I'm telling you. Hapo ndo tuko leo asubuhi. It's the 23rd of January. You didn't think this day was going to come, but alas. Third. Yes. Okay. Yeah, another month gone. Imagine. Okay. Come Chezo.
Okay.
So, uko salama? I'm glad to see you. Yeah. Wait, the technology is not technology.
It is 8 years behind in Ethiopia, no?
80 or 8? 8, yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's 8 years. This guy called Gregory, who came up with the calendar, he didn't reach Ethiopia.
No.
Or rather, Ethiopia said, Apana. No. If you're not called Meles, or then now we don't want your calendar, we want our own.
We have our own, my friend.
Yes.
Don't bring your BHR here. So if I go to Ethiopia today, I'm 8 years younger.
Nice try. In fact, you can do that. You can say, you know what? I'm going to take that 3 a.m. flight that goes to Bolo International Airport. I sit there for a few hours. Like, excuse me, guys. Where I'm from?
Where I'm from? We're in 2026.
I'm only 29.
If I look at your calendar,
I'm only 29 now. I'm going to hey, boy. So you guys and your whatever.
Now I understand why people usually go to Ethiopia and say, I'm still a youth at heart.
Exactly.
8 years.
Kabisa, you decide. It must be fun.
Oh, they're also constructing a new airport, eh?
Yes,
Just
they
so you
are.
know.
There's something that they're doing right in terms of infrastructure. They're the ones who understand this thing.
But they're getting it right, man. They're getting it right. I mean, if you go to Addis at night, the lighting system, street lights, you know, they have covered their footpaths, bicycle lanes, and everything. It just looks amazing. And green spaces as well.
Kabisa.
Tunasema Addis lazima you work. Use that information what you want.
Who's the Sakaja for Addis Ababa? Sorry. Wait, did I say that out loud, guys? Sorry, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. Shall be a respectful child.
We are.
Okay, so I'm glad that you're well this morning. Joyline, uko salama? Oh, Sijali, life is good. I can be the brand ambassador for LG. It's Friday. It's 6:15. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Hope everybody's doing okay. And as we get into the morning, glad that you could join us. Our live shows are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Today, Joyline is like an octopus.
Yes.
She's doing things. Yes, Spice, doing things. Radio Maisha.
She's getting into spaces many cannot.
You, Aseto, you. I'm going to tell your mother.
About multitasking.
I'm going to tell your mother. I have your mother's number.
My mother. Okay.
Hey. So as we close the week, we'll have a number of conversations today and giving you insight into that. We'll also look at things politically because it's necessary for us to continue to unpack these things one by one. Okay, so my telephone.
Technology.
Hey.
Technology.
It was refusing at some point, but we are here, Mama. Don't worry. Okay, so where are we here? We are talking about what today, right?
Yes.
All right. At 7 a.m., we will talk with two professors. Professor Peter Kagwanja, as well as Professor Alfred Omenya, will be talking about global power politics and is Kenya ready. This game is not a joke. You see the things that are happening around the world where the United States is flexing its political muscle, its geopolitical muscle, and Denmark, who previously would just kind of lie low, have said, excuse me.
You come, we shoot you.
Don't try me.
Yeah.
Can't just be behaving anyhow because what? Because in front of your name is United. No. And then other things that happen. China coming in and every single African country goes for their meetings to hear what it is that they have to say, to collect what it is that they're giving. And that we see that Venezuela had the gall to even de-dollarize the petrol sales. How dare you? These are the conversations that we're having. In this space, if you're climbing towards development, you will play in this character. Where is Kenya in all of this? And is Kenya ready? We'll have that conversation at 7 o'clock. We'll also then delve into empowering youth beyond handouts. And that we're at the place where, guys, come on. Beyond handouts, what does it mean? Are you collecting the handouts and saving them somewhere? What are you doing? Duke Mainga is the chairman of the Youth Commodity Fund. Tabitha Oluoch is the Youth Participation Champion Siasa Place. They both join us at 8 o'clock for that conversation. Okay, guys, tell us as it is. Where do you see yourself in this whole conduit? And finally, we will then look once again beyond the strike, building a resilient health system. Peterson Washiro will join us. Are we still on strike? Is there any word? Let's do a follow-up with that and see what is going on. But beyond strikes, how do we actually build proper health infrastructure in the country? Those are the conversations that we'll have. And that last conversation is our Healthy Friday conversation for today. Hope everybody's doing well. And we move forward. I have plantain crisps. I just want to, there's no need for me. I'm here. I have plantain crisps.
Yeah.
Plantain.
Plantain.
There's no life without plantain.
Do you know what plantain is called in Swahili?
Do you.
You
wanted to be. I said I'm going to tell your mother. I won't tell your mother. Wait. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I have plantain. It's the most beautiful. Plantain is the most beautiful food on the planet. If you don't know, it's because you don't know. And that's where we're moving on this morning. So before we say hello to everybody who's tuned in on our live streams, YouTube, Facebook, and on X, hello our audience on KTN. Good morning to everybody from different. It's great because we have different genres of audiences all coming together for us to be part of this conversation. So Karibuni-san, as we get into it, and we'll say good morning to you who've tuned in and are sending us a note. We'll say hello back. Before that, we're finishing up things in Angola. All right.
Yes. And this I think you love, because you love singing, right?
Yes.
And you also hear every other morning to talk.
Yeah.
So there is things to talk to the people in the world, right?
All right.
So to walk alone is almost not to walk. To sing alone is almost to mama. What do you think they're saying this morning?
Well, I think that human beings were made to be with each other.
To socialize, yeah.
Exactly. And whilst you may do things in isolation, it's not for a long period of time that you start to break down when you're not around people. I, for one, am very okay being by myself, but then you find that something every now and then when you're around somebody, then you perk up a little bit.
Yeah.
But that we're not meant to be unitary solo like that. We were made for. There's a word I'm looking for. I can't find it. Together, we were made for. I'll find the word later. But we were made to.
I was meant for you. We just cut the chase.
But you said it now. It's out in the open. To do with truth telling. But okay. How do you? I've lost my words.
For once.
Okay.
So, solitude is the most difficult thing in this world.
Tough.
Because life, like we keep on saying, is not a straight path. There are times when you have to climb mountains. Difficult will always come, and most of the time, when you find yourself in those spaces, then community is essential because the ones will hold you. You need to talk to something to show you the way, or someone to show you how they handle the situation you find yourself in, So whilst sometimes it's good to be alone for you to figure things out, it is equally very, very important to just share, because again, we keep saying problem shared is
half solved. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's true. A problem shared is half solved. That's true. Yeah. Even if you may not get the complete solution, there's that. I didn't realize how much of a weight stress is.
Where? It is.
What?
At times, I remember, basically, personally, the late 2025 to this month has been really difficult, because my dad was sick, my sister was sick at some point, my mom is there. It's been really, really difficult. And talking about it has helped a lot. At times, I find myself alone, and guess who I talk to? I just stand in front of a mirror and have a conversation.
Talk to Dennis?
Just speaking it out, letting it out helps a lot. Now you can imagine now speaking with someone else who would help you find your way around it and all that. I mean, it's beautiful being in a community.
Two heads are absolutely better than one.
Yes.
So may you find someone that you can share with, and may you also be someone that someone else can share with.
Yes, like you found me and I'm sharing this. It's beautiful, man. Ask me about it.
I'm so glad that I can be in your life like this.
Yes.
And these conversations will then be taken out of the room. All right. Good morning, everybody. Karibuni-san, thank you for being in the room with us this morning. And I know that some of you are getting to bed and taking this last sliver as you do get into Friday, wherever you are. Rather get into Thursday night and then into Friday morning. And those of you on this side of the divide, thank you for getting into the room with us. A very good morning to you. Michael Olande says good morning. Hey, my brother is actually in Rwanda right now. My brother is in Kigali. So, people people who don't live in Africa say, hey, I have a friend that I went to school 10 years ago. He's in Africa. Can you say hi to him? Michael, can you say hi to my brother? Tupac Shakur says, good morning. Changes. That's just the way it is. Life will never be the same. Tupac, tuko na wewe. Good morning. Good to see you. Or if you hear you. Robert Tobago says, good morning from Mombasa. Christopher Ogora is tuned in this morning. Team Spice tuned in from Maseno kama kawaida. A very good morning to you. And a good morning from Mombasa. Every big tree was once a seed. Never despise your days of small beginning. Peter Carey, absolutely. That's when you say now you say you have reached. Remember where you've come from. Carol Nyambura says, good morning, SpiceFM. You have sound issues. I don't have sound issues.
Can they confirm that they can hear as well? So just comment there and tell us that you can hear as well so that we can fix it.
By the way, true. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
If you can't hear us, please tell us. Can you hear us at this point? That's good. For us, thank you so much. Okay. Don Sabo says Ndu is a Friday. No, Ndu is not a Friday. Ndu is Ndu. Today is Friday. That's true. Day number 20-something of the year. It's 23rd, actually. It's not coming to an end. Do we still have 300,000 people working outside Kenya? Well, I'm sure you have more than that, but okay. He wants you to answer all these questions.
Okoh is one of them. Very many Kenyans working outside.
Okay. All right, there we go.
If you're asking the ones that are taken by the government, I can't respond because I'm not aware. I'm not sure.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning from Preston in the UK, says Rahim Omar. Trump always chickens out, aka Taco. Okay, Taco. De-escalated when stock markets dropped due to his threats over Greenland. He confused Greenland with Iceland. You think he meant Iceland? I think he knew exactly what he was doing. But okay. Good morning from Attack in Uganda, says Kisa Daniel. Hello, Princess Ndu, says Leo. Good morning to you. And Aseto, is it true or is it political propaganda that Machakos County wants to drain a dam in order to build a PSV terminus? The Ministry of Corruption has finished a lot of projects. You know what Machakos needs to do?
Mm-hmm.
Shut up and get to work. Not this. If that's the case, build a dam. Yeah. We're not supposed to see Monaco in
Grand Prix.
Yeah.
We're supposed to see that in Okombani.
Yeah. Apa too. I don't know. I don't know. Humphrey, good morning to you, good people. Let's keep hope alive. Very soon politics will yield to true leadership. We pray so. Good morning, Ndu and Dennis. I am set for the show. Kabisa, Vintage, we see you. SpiceFM, the channel is static. Who is stepping on the wires? Nee.
Yeah, they're still saying there's a problem with the sound, so...
What's going on?
So if Eddie could just come and help us out.
Yeah, maybe we need to find Eddie. There must be a problem somewhere because people can't seem to hear us very well. And good morning, guys. Sarah Brown says, good morning. Happy New Year to all SpiceFM. Yes. Kiburi means arrogance, like the one Sudi has. Both remember the conversation on Monday is gone. This conversation on Monday is gone. Okay. Isaac, good morning. Methinks telling children to report in old uniform doesn't solve poverty. It just makes it visible. This government is admitting it has run out of answers. But it's interesting. I know that in some schools, you come with the school uniform of your previous school the day while they figure out your uniform so that they can know essentially what they're doing. And for those who have it, fine. Anyway, that's just the thing. Good morning, Aseto. Yesterday, we identified only one project that the government has completed, Odongo Kundu. Uncle Gigi akamwaga mtama pale north. Double M akatupeleke class. Who's double N now? Oh, Ndendenyoro. Oh, okay. Yeah, he was then in Mombasa yesterday because he then took the meeting from the parliamentary committee and then he went to Mombasa where he was a guest. And then, again, did that thing. Kabisa. Iceman says, good morning, Team Spice. Anyone with Kiburi is deaf afraid. Okay. Sawa. DD says, fix the sound. Okay, we've got a problem. The sound is breaking. Still till now. That sound is harmful. Wow. Okay, doesn't sound too good. I'm also hearing the static from my end. What's happening? Okay, we're trying to figure this out in terms of what's going on. That the sound is not sounding. Okay, so it seems that people are not able to hear us. How about a show called Letter to Your Sound Team? I agree. Okay, I'm going to ask one question here in terms of what might be happening with the sound, and then we'll see if we can come back to that. I'm greeting everybody, and we'll just... Okay, so we're actually working on that sound issue right now, so we can see that figured out. A very good morning, Washoga Toto. Good morning to you. Yes, that's being sorted. My Prince, good morning. And Kara Jogona says good morning. Both microphones are affected. Check the analog. We're on it, Tibbs. Kembe Orlando says good morning. Have a very good day. All right, so of course that, takes us off a little bit, but that's being worked on to then be able to figure out what exactly is going on this morning. So I'm telling you, there are gremlins who come at you at the wires at night or something worse that happens. Okay, so with that, let's take a look into the headlines, the stories that are making headlines today. And we'll start in Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. The headline is water waste. I don't know, Joyline, if we have the other papers, maybe we can have a look at that as well. I know you're alone, darling, but let's see if we can find the other ones. The Standard, water waste, 2.44 billion shillings down the drain. They strutted the corridors of power, pocketed billions and spoke in the president's name without constitutional backing. Now the High Court has pulled the plug, declaring President William Ruto's advisors illegally appointed, barring their pay and ordering a sweeping audit of offices created since 2010. In a damning ruling, the court said the appointments were secretive, uncompetitive, and a brazen abuse of public funds, laying bare a culture of patronage dressed up as expertise. According to High Court Judge Bahati Mwamuye, I must echo that ancient saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, while it is this court's finding that there is no evidence that the constitutional failures outlined herein above were deliberate or undertaken out of anything other than a good faith attempt to deepen the capacity and depth of advice available to the President of the Republic as he discharges the onerous task of the principal helmsman of our national identity, or rather destiny. The actions, decisions, and omissions in the process exhibit multiple and severe breaches of the Constitution. Yikes. So they said they should do what? They said they need an audit. They've pulled the plug, first of all. These advisors, how many of them there are, should hold on. The court says the appointments were secretive. They said they've pulled the plug, declaring his advisors illegally appointed. Now they should not be paid, and there needs to be an audit of those offices that have been created since 2010, and said, no, we're not doing this no more. Chairperson of President Ruto's Council of Economic Advisors is David D, and there's a picture of him there as well. State orders principals to admit all grade 10 learners without fees. Yes. Okay. That's nice. You see how, like, Iran is, they're testing their nuclear warfare. Every now and then they're testing, and somebody gets annoyed because they saw smoke and say, Iran is testing, they shouldn't be allowed to test. And then they say, you know what, we're just stepping on the gas. This thing is about to go, poof. That's what's happening here. When they say, now, every grade 10 learner should get it now, principals want to shout. You know why? You have not given them the wherewithal to ensure that this happens. You've not given them the wherewithal to ensure that every grade 10 learner can get into school because they have everything they need to cater for them. I'm just saying. That's the headline. Look into the details. Tourist dies after fatal paraglider accident in skies over escarpment. Ateke. Ooh-wee. Stay on the ground, I beg. I beg. Stay on the ground. But yeah, that was not fun at all. Return to sender. Court throws out Ruto's more than 20 illegal advisors. Who do you see there in the picture? Okay. Professor Makamu Tua, Professor Edwin Kisiangani, Dr. Monica Juma, Professor Abdi Gulier, Mr. Joseph Boynet, Dr. Nancy Laibuni, amongst others, and says, okay, salary at January, utapata, alafu ingine sijui. Police brutality victims, their families agonize as culprits continue killing, unfortunately. Hospital under DCI probe after lawyer dies. Meridian Equator Hospital in Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard today. We're also then looking into more and more of the sports stories as we get into the weekend. All right, as we look at other papers.
Yeah, so let's look at the Nairobian, right, as we wait for the other papers to come in. So Naipi saga, alcohol, power and privacy clash. So Marion's clip on social media has reignited a familiar national conversation on morality, gender politics, privacy, and the evolving sexual culture of young people. The thin line between empowerment and exploitation has never been blurrier. Naipi's viral moment reveals the dangers of digital exposure and the cost of public judgment. That was sad to see. That was sad to see what happened, and brings forth a conversation on how we use our social media pages and the digital apparatus that we do have. Now, from courtroom to courtroom, Majanja's legacy caught in a protracted succession battle. That is in pages 4 and 5. We know that his family is having a battle on who is to control his estate and the wealth that he left behind. Yep. Now, Gimmick, doubts over Nyota effectiveness. Many asking the questions, even as the Nyota project continues, just how effective is it? Many say that Nyota is another tokenism politics that is ongoing there and is not meant to see anything, especially coming at a time when we had Hustler Fund, where did that go? Empowerment projects that we've seen go on, as well as now we are in Nyota. And many asking the questions, are we giving fish, or are we teaching how to fish? You know, and we have meat bartender who is governor's daughter. I mean, Kazi.
Arakama.
Right? Yes.
Arakama.
Right? Yes. And from strength to suffering, the untold struggles of men in abusive relationships. That is from in pages 21 and 22. Pages 2, we have from homesick to confused, meet the many faces of grade 10 monos. Grade 10 monos. Hey, okay. I think that grade 10, they are grade 10 pioneers, not monos, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And we have the glam bump as well there, and the story on Justice Bajanja, the late, as well, and the deadbeat DG. Bartender claims she is Machakos deputy governor's daughter, but the man has not been helping in raising her.
Does he know that she's his daughter? You know me, I can say anything. Does he know that she's actually the daughter? Or you say, you know, that looks like the guy that could pass as my father. How about I just tell people? Or is there a DNA test? Is there surety that he's your father? Or did somebody tell you, unajua umeona yo mtu kwa TV? Oni baba yako.
Oni baba yangu. But it said the county second in command, Francis Mangangi, faces paternity claim as a 26-year-old Sharon Ndoko demands recognition and DNA test, alleging hardship while contrasting her father's affluent lifestyles. Anasema wewe ni baba yangu and I want to prove it. Twende tuchomwe sindano or take that swab so that you can compare the gene DNA connection to you.
Do you know how embarrassing that would be if it comes out that he's actually not your father?
I know.
After you've made noise everywhere.
I know.
Anyway, I guess the science will never lie.
Yes.
So the sound is back. Everybody, sorry. We are back. Isakale, you want us to start again so that we finish the show at 11 o'clock, ba? We're not boarding. No, sorry, please. Yeah. We trust the Lord that everything said before will be carried forth. Amen?
Amen.
All right. Ulikuwa umemaliza?
Nimemaliza.
Okay, bas. So now let's look into some of these stories. Now, Isakale, we had started when we were talking about the story on the front page of the Standard today. What a waste. And if a picture were to tell 1,000 words, then, you know, it's up to you. Get yourself a copy of the Standard newspaper today. Get a copy of the Eve's paper to then be able to look at that. But let's look into the story. Yeah. What the High Court did yesterday was unprecedented. My goodness. Unexpected.
Yes.
Incredible.
But remember,
magnanimous.
Kenyans have been speaking. Lakini watu wameweka pamba kwa masikio.
Exactly. Burden of advisors is a story that was carried in the Standard actually just what date was that? It was in May last year, and the Standard was asking these questions that the High Court answered yesterday. Return to sender. Who's sender? Court throws out Ruto's more than 20 illegal advisors. They earn fat salaries, are driven in big cars, and enjoy state power under the guise of offering expert advice to the president. Some of them are clueless
and rudderless.
Wait, Kamau Mudhoni. Wait. This is Kamau Mudhoni's story. I'm reading Kamau Mudhoni's story. Thanks. I'm just the channel. I repeat, some of them are clueless and lack an understanding of the reality of the people, but these are the president's men and women. Appointed against constitutional safeguards, the ever-expanding list of presidential achievers is unashamedly siphoning Kenyan taxpayers' money and little to show for it. Yani, for real, did you know that there's somebody called Dr. Nancy Laibuni?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that she's an advisor? Do you know what she does?
No.
What does she advise on?
She's being advised on how to advise the president.
You see now? On Thursday, High Court Judge Bahati Mwamuye said that while the road to hell is paved with good intentions, the 21 experts hired by President William Ruto to help him run the government are illegally in office. He barred payment of their salaries. Ata hii payroll ya hii January show justice. Si mtu alikuwa anangoja na budget. Amesema,
let me tell you. Sorry. Scatter everywhere.
Wahala day. God, I beg. Justice Mwamuye directed that the Attorney General and the Public Service Commission immediately stop payment of salaries to Professor Makau Mutua, Dr. David Ndi, Professor Edward Kisiangani. Please see how I have noted that one. Dr. Monica Juma, Joseph Boynet, Jaoko Oburu, Dr. Sylvester Okumu, Harriet Chigai, Major Retired Mahat Somane, Professor Abdi Gulie, Dr. Dominic Menjo, and Dr. Nancy Laibuni. Others are Kennedy Ogeto, Sylvia Kangara, Augustine Cheriot, Henry Kinyai, Joe Aguirre, among others. Shockingly. Hey, are you guys sitting down?
Wait. There's even among others.
I
can't fit in the story.
No. There's among others. As for the among others, we'll come there later. Do you want to hear how many money it is? Let me tell you. The how many money? Shockingly, some 2.44 billion shillings has already been gobbled up by these advisors without the involvement of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to establish whether the salaries were a waste of public resources or within fiscal limits. Now, while agreeing with lawyer Lempa Suyanka and the Katiba Institute that Ruto created these offices that handpicked the advisors, the judge said the government did not check whether their work duplicated the functions of cabinet secretaries, the attorney general, principal secretaries, ambassadors, or high commissioners. Justice Mwamuye said that although the move to appoint the advisors was meant to deepen the capacity of government, the exercise was vague, conducted in secret, and a violation of the Constitution. Justice Mwamuye also said that CSs, PSs, high commissioners, and ambassadors are hired and paid to advise the president already. Yani, they're there already to do this same thing that you brought people in to do, and were paid. He added that the appointment process is competitive and that they have clearly defined roles. However, for the advisors, he said, the office of an advisor to the president should equally be subjected to the same process as that of other officials.
Yes.
Not just wake up in the morning and say, hi, come and be my advisor for
heaven's sake. The office of the president is not a private institution. I'm sorry.
No, I thought you were going to say be an advisor for heaven's sake.
No, it's not a private institution.
It is not.
Yes.
So, at the same time, Justice Mwamuye said the appointments violated the principles of competition and merit, as the positions were never advertised. Did you see them? They were not advertised. They were never called for, talk in parliament, nothing like that. So Mwamuye said, you know what? We can go on and on and on and on and talk about the Constitution and what it provides or what it doesn't provide. But I'm telling you now, this January money, Attorney General, Auntie, come. SRC, come. That payroll that you people are thinking of doing for this one. And then, not just that, let's go back and audit all of these things and see exactly what it is that they've been doing. So let's see that whether now you have our money. Okay? All of them.
You know, Ndu.
Yes.
If the court has today found that this individual, the appointment is illegal and against the law, what we should actually do is go back to when they started working and recoup all the salaries and bonuses that they have received throughout the time, and take it back to Mwananchi, because the court has found that they are in office illegally. So everything they've done throughout that period is illegal.
People are owing Kenyans and children are looking for school fees.
So they have that 2 point something billion, Rudishia wananchi. Give it to schools.
People are looking for money. There's a lot of money that can be used right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, the cabinet secretary has ordered all principals to ensure that all children
without fees, they should
we
go
have
to
2.4 billion here that you can give to schools to ensure that 100% transition does happen.
So all of you, 20, how many of them are there waiting for salary? Excuse me, to the left, bring money, children, enter school. I mean.
So I just did kidogo math, 2.4 billion. If you divide by 12, it's 200 million. So that would be how much is spent a year.
Yeah, it's a yearly amount.
Simbaya. Lakini nauma.
Kabisa.
Can you imagine as taxpayers that your funds have been used to fund people who are in office illegally, and that today, as we sit here, we have the. I'm sorry, but I have to call out the Attorney General because they are the chief advisors to the government. Where were they when these decisions are being made? Did they tell the president that, "Oi, what you're doing is against the law, and perhaps we should find a way of making it legal," because today the Attorney General, whether she likes it or not, she has questions to answer.
Absolutely.
Yes, she has questions to answer as the chief advisor. Has she failed Kenyans? If that's the case, Pia, home. It's that simple. Because thing is, Ndu, you've been hired to do a specific task. If you fail at that task, what do we do? Performance improvement.
Go home.
Right? Next bus.
Yeah. No, plane.
Independence.
Hey, plane.
It's called independence.
Yangu ni plane.
Yes, your plane.
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
Please.
Back to Abuja, right? So the same way, if everyone here has failed, if these guys are being fired, I'm sorry, but even the Attorney General
has a case to answer. Come on,
the
guys.
President, I'm sorry, you have a case to answer.
Because think about it. You sit somewhere and you say, okay, because if you want to look at also, these are some individuals who used to be in cabinet.
True.
These are individuals who got a political reward for allegiance or whatever, and they were appointed. You didn't take it to Parliament. There was no public participation on how you're going to spend Kenyans' money. You didn't ask them. You didn't tell them anything. You appointed these ladies and gentlemen, and now people, Katiba Institute, you got to give it to them.
You got to give it to them.
If there's a group that is really vested in citizen side governance
and constitutionalism,
because they said, come on, you guys, you didn't ask Kenyans whether you can spend their money. What are you being advised about? You have CSs, you have PSs more than we can count, you have ambassadors, you have high commissioners all around the world who will advise you on these very same things. You have parliament committees who are supposed to sit and sort out these things, and you go and put where do these people even sit, Seth?
Thank you.
Where is the office? These advisors.
Never done even that. So the president has hired them. Do they answer to the Public Service Commission, which is in charge of civil servants in the country?
No.
So if they are not there, then who has hired them? If it is not the Public Service Commission that's in charge of all the civil servants in the country?
Yeah, these are good questions.
So it is just a question of, I'm in power and I'll do as I wish. But even as you do as you wish, what does the Constitution stipulate when you are hiring people? I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just trying to understand the process that would see the president flout the law simply because he's the president.
Yeah. That's how you know that the arm of government that is actually seeing things that is working is the judiciary.
There are individuals that are called parliament who would have raised this way earlier. You know why? Because their purpose is to, let's say it,
legislate.
Number 2,
making budgets.
Number 3,
oversight.
Yes. They should have seen these, and that oversight role would have happened here and brought this matter before the House, August House, discussed it and taken it back to the president. Told him, Mr. Sir, hapo umeanguka exam. Hii ni below average.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Why? Because now maybe you can give us the headlines on The Nation based on now that story and what it looks like.
So, it says, Ruto's many headaches. Headache number 1, hostile court orders. Headache number 2, delicate pre-election coalition talks with ODM. Number 3, internal UDA disputes linked to party polls. Where? Number 4, missed revenue targets and a rising debt burden. Tukichukua serikali, Mambo ya kuchukua deni tunawacha. Lazima tufanye nini? We stop digging.
Okay.
Behind the scheduled disbursement to counties, are you surprised? No. Public sector labor strike threats. As we speak today, healthcare workers wako wapi?
Kwa barabara.
Looming drought. It is not looming. It is there.
Yeah.
It is there. We're experiencing it. Education sector crisis. Sema CBE. Growing a resistance to sale of state farms. Wakenya wamesema, Mr. Boss, hii utafanya. Regrouping opposition eyeing unity deal. President Ruto is lurching from one crisis to another as he begins the final full year in office ahead of polls in August next year. Now, how he navigates the challenges to reignite the populism that swept him to power are likely to influence his re-election strategy. Couples, 3 children killed in car crash days to U.S. return.
Oh, I cried over this story. My God.
Yeah. That is sad, man.
Very.
That was sad. And JSC nominates 15 Court of Appeal judges, right? And among them, let me just go through them real quick. Justice Hedwig Ongudi, Justice Ndumanderi, Justice Lynette Mumo, Justice Chacha Muita, Justice Lucy Muihaki, Justice Samson Odhiambo, Justice Rachel Chepkoech, Mr. Kigen Katwa Kigen, Justice Radido Okio, Mr. Murungi Kairaria, Mr. Isaac Hassan, who is also the IPOA chair, Mr. Paul Lilan, Justice Munyao Sila, Dr. Johnson Okoh, Justice Brian Ongaya, and these nominees then have been forwarded to the president to make a decision, right?
Yep.
Yes, and we have patients decry Shah surgery approval delays, costly rule. Some of Shah bado iko na issues zake and delays. And so those are the stories that we see have been covered right here in the Daily Nation. If you could just go through the other papers.
I just wanted to say on Shah, you know what?
Yes.
One of the main problems with Shah is that they don't have enough people contributing to the scheme.
Yeah.
And one of the problems with people not contributing to the scheme is that 6,000 shillings is a lot of money in the year. It's not a joke.
No, it's not.
That you might sit in your space and think that, come on, 6,000 shillings, I'm going to have a drink with somebody for 6,000 bob. No. It is the reality to very many people that 6,000 bob is a lot of money.
Yep.
We already live in a bite-sized economy where there's little soap, there's ugali for the day, there is vegetables for 10 shillings, you can cut meat for 100 bob. What I'm saying is that make this sharp payment, and honestly, I wouldn't even charge you guys. Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, I won't charge you for this advice. And the metrics through which you can do it, because you've done it everywhere else. Create something and then do a public service campaign whereby you let people know. People are already in this thing. People can't do big things at once, but they can do little things several times. So let it be very possible for somebody to pay 20 shillings a day. So that by the end of the month, do you know how much you have? You have 600 bob.
Yeah.
And that is a tenth of what you need. By the time you get to October, you have your money for the year for Shah. Do you see what I'm saying?
You see, that's the conversation that
I swear I won't charge you. I won't charge you.
True.
Just get this. You already have 104 billion shilling platform. So you cannot tell us that the system or the science cannot do it. You spent a hell of a lot of money putting that system in place. Whoever got the money, we don't care at this point. Okay, we care. But at this point, we are saying, you guys are telling us that the reason why some people cannot get health care as they need it is because not everybody has contributed to the kitty. Okay, that's this side. This side, we are telling you that people are saying the majority of the people, the majority who you're looking for, cannot afford this 6,000 bob at once. But they need the care. So you have communicators. Pay people. Get a campaign done. Sort out the metrics where people can pay 20 shillings a day and 600 a month. It puts money in the pool for you to then be able to administer the care. So that when somebody goes to hospital, you don't tell them that we can't treat you because of ABC, XYZ. Allow people pay small amounts of money, get them in the scheme. You
see, what needs to happen, right, is what you are discussing here. The government has the capability of ensuring this message gets to everybody. You know why I say that? Even my late grandmother at 80 had a phone. And these messages would be pumped for people to read these messages. My grandmother would see a message and would call one of the people around her to read that message for her. That's how she used to get the funds, the elderly monthly stipend that they used to get, right? It can be done.
Boss, I'm telling you, you spent 104 billion shillings on a system. You cannot tell me that this system then cannot intake the however 20, 30, 40 million people. We're not even talking about all of the population.
Yeah.
Because the people for who this money is deducted at source are in the minority. The majority of the people that you're looking for this money from. Look at it. Let's do the math because I know we're going towards
million.
it. So, no, not even like that. Just take 20 million people who are giving you 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, who are giving you 20 shillings a day. 20 shillings a day. That is 400 million shillings a day. My calculator will not even allow me to tell you how much it is per month. Does that not solve the problem that you're looking for? You keep saying people are not paying. You're saying people are not paying, people are not paying, people are not paying. Auntie Mercy, I beg you in the name of God, you people should sit down, right? We already have a Kadogo economy, like I said, where people are buying little bits. They're buying a little bit of meat, small packets of soap. You can use the same idea for this SHA because you've been shouting since telling us the reason why SHA is not working is that people are not paying. Okay, here's a solution for free. Wallahi, I will not charge you.
You know how much we would be getting in a year? 144 billion.
This is what I'm talking about. And then people are paid up and then people can go to hospital regardless of where they are in the country and they can get the health care. Because you've told us that that's the problem. This is a solution. I'm saying it here. It is what time? 6:56 on Friday, the 23rd of January. People, there is a way. There is a solution. You spent a lot of money on the system, which is not serving optimally. You can do more with it. People can't afford 6,000 shillings at a go.
No, you can't.
But they can afford 20 shillings on a day. They can. And that's the group of people that you're looking for to get us onto this health system. I beg now.
You don't do, it's if you look at how this country was built, even the schools we talk about, it was on... There are those schools that are called Harambee schools. What exactly does Harambee mean? Bring your little contribution, put it in a pot, and through that, we will build schools. Many schools have been built by contributions from Kenyans today. And it is the same ideology we talk about when it comes to SHA. If we allow ourselves to pay 20 shillings, to pay 500 shillings, because if someone wants to put in 10,000 shillings, we will get this money and we are able to sort out our healthcare system.
All you need to do is back it up by a communication campaign. That's all we are saying, so that people know. I'm telling you, the former governor of the CBK knew what he was doing. That guy knew what he was doing. When he was saying Kenya is changing his money, he himself was the one who was standing. He was doing TV ads. By the time that campaign was over, there's nobody in this country who didn't know that we're supposed to change our money and that the old note will not work for us anymore. It works. You cannot now say, we'll talk to our guys in Standard to see if they can talk for us. No. Do the campaign, get the money in, and let's stop this nonsense when you're telling people that we can't do SHA properly. Stop it.
So when you talk about communication, one thing I will have to give President William Ruto is, in the advent to the campaigns, one thing that he managed to do very well is to communicate to Kenyans. He managed to sell his agenda, and Kenyans bought that agenda. It can't be that the very same person who's very good at communicate to 55 plus million Kenyans today is unable to communicate the projects that he has for success. I reckon that this is intentional because they don't
want it to work then. They don't want it to work then.
If they are not communicating, this thing is not working. Question is why? Is someone benefiting from this not working? Do we have a conflict of interest if SHA is not working?
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I just had a moment. Because it's not rocket science.
No, it's not.
And I keep saying, even this rocket science, did they not go to the moon? They figured it out. Somebody built the rocket.
Yeah.
Somebody figured it out.
Even rocket science is not rocket science.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Science things. So
maybe you actually don't want it to work.
No. Who doesn't want a working healthcare? Who doesn't want working education?
We've talked about these things for so long. And then it pains me that you have able-bodied, blood-thumping, brain-activating human beings who sit in these positions and you can't figure this thing out.
I mean,
then why are you there?
You want to tell me, plus all the 22 advisors, no one thought of what we're talking about here to tell the president what needs to be done?
You can't figure it out? Come on, guys. Come on. Some of these things you can't be telling us, oh, we don't have money. That's why. No. This one is not a money problem. It's a management issue. And that's the thing that plagues us. Then you can tell us.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Learners who sat for the inaugural KJSM and are yet to join grade 10 due to financial constraints are expected to report to senior schools today, in line with President William Ruto's directive on Thursday. Ruto directed the schools to admit the learners in their grade 9 uniforms. He also directed all provincial administration officers to ensure that the learners report to school. Ruto emphasized that no child should remain at home because of lack of school fees, as the government has disbursed 44 billion shillings to schools.
In any case, there is sufficient money for teachers, for our children to be taught in the first term. So every child, wawe na school fees, wasiwe na school fees. Wawe na uniform, wasiwe na uniform. Waende shuleni tomorrow morning. Na mimi nataka chiefs, na assistant chiefs, na members of provincial administration. Every child in Kenya must report to school tomorrow because we have provided the money to teach all our children.
Meanwhile, the government has begun distribution of grade 10 textbooks to learners in public senior schools across the country. While concerns had been raised over delays in textbook supply, Education CS Julius Ogamba said the situation is under control following renewed engagement with publishers. He explained that in the last 3 weeks, the government raised 5.6 billion shillings, which has already been paid to publishers, unlocking supply of grade 10 textbooks. United Green Movement UGM presidential aspirant David Maraga has criticized the grade 10 rollout, saying that confusion being witnessed is a result of the government's unpreparedness to implement the competency-based education program. Speaking in Kisumu during a young aspirants training on UGM party values, Maraga argued that the program was being hastily and half-heartedly implemented.
We are going to lose quite a number of young people in this process. I saw in the papers the other day that they are saying, look, this is like a pilot program. You'll get a few who will do very well. But what about the majority? What about the majority? Losing one is bad enough. So it is a question of implementation, and the government is totally ill prepared. The teachers, we all know, and the teachers have said it. They are not prepared for this CBC or CPE program. And that's why it is so haphazard.
Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro has called for the immediate rollout of fully free secondary education in Kenya, arguing that access to education should be safeguarded from political interference. Speaking in Mombasa, Nyoro proposed the establishment of a national secondary education fund financed through contributions from the Constituency Development Fund, county governments and the national government. He noted that approximately 15 billion shillings would be required annually, and the amount can be achieved if existing resources are used efficiently.
We must never use basic education ever again as a tool anywhere in the election period. The day secondary school and basic education must be made free. And by the way, my goal is for us to have free basic education from term 2 of 2026. Because education, in all economic models, education is the number one parameter of an economy, for economy to grow. It brings R&D, it brings technology, it brings about skills. We must make this available to all Kenyans. And I can guarantee you, whether I'll be alone as a member of parliament, I will do it and it will happen.
Vampire horror film Sinners has broken the record for the most Oscar nominations received by a single film after being nominated for 16 of Hollywood's most coveted honors. The film beat the previous record of 14 nominations and emerged ahead of its nearest rival this year, Leonardo DiCaprio's thriller One Battle After Another, which is up for 13 awards. Sinners contenders include its star Michael B. Jordan and his British co-stars Wumi Mosaku and Delroy Lindo. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large the government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries. Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't let me tell you. You saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Yeah. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around.
Yeah,
Why? Tell me what is
well, first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda mbali sana hii. So when we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu waulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're coming into it at 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. And a very, very good morning to you. And as you tune into the conversation today, thank you for being here with us this morning. Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Our audience on KTN, good morning to you. And thank you for joining us today. The two professors in the house today, And they've told me that they can hear the smile in my voice, or rather,
Yes.
or see it, for that matter. So it's good. You can be intentional about smiling regardless. Good to see you both this morning. The professors, Alfred Omenya and Peter Kagwanja, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, and great to see you again as we look into this discourse, important and necessary for us to do. We're going to be looking at power plays, global political plays, and where Kenya, if Kenya is ready to fit into the conversation, and not just the conversation, the actions, the struggle, whatever the case may be. So we're talking about those things this morning, and glad that you were able to join us for that. Dennis has taken us to Luanda, not the Luanda for here.
Even for here, they've got problems.
I'm sure they have. Yeah. So this time Angola, and he'd love to share the proverb today.
Yes, so just a few facts about Angola. 7th largest country in the continent, rich in oil, diamond, and gold. But they have a tree that they call Imbondeiro. Imbondeiro tree is a baobab. Baobab tree.
Interesting.
Yeah, really important for the country. They say it represents the struggles that the country has been through, because you look at baobab and how it goes through the seasons and continues to be there. And it is also twice the size of France, just so you know. But let's go to the proverb. To walk alone is almost not to walk. To sing alone is almost to murmur. Professor Kagwanja, how would you interpret that?
It simply means that you have to work with the others. Very, very much in line with African philosophy, which is that I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. That is Philip Beatty, the philosopher.
Correct.
And it means that collectively we are strong. Individually, doesn't matter what you are, you're weak.
You're weak. Yeah. Professor Ming.
Yeah, I think this is very apt, and it's interesting that Africans had this. Of course, just which I think is a good one, and we're going to extend that where the South Africans say "Mutu umuntu gabantu." Yeah, I am because you are. Same bit of a person is because of other people, and I think. The walking, of course, immediately reminded me of again another famous African proverb that was even made more famous by the late Secretary General of the UN from Africa, Kofi Annan, that said that if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone, because that proverb actually recognizes that you'll still move, you'll still walk. Even if you're alone, but really, I mean, it's almost not a walk, and you'll still talk if you're alone, but it's a mama. Yeah, so I think it's very, very important, and linked with our conversation today, really,
sure.
that can we go it alone, as Trump is trying?
Yes, well said, well interpreted.
Indeed. Well, okay, so let's look at that a little bit then, because the way the world is spinning on its axis at the moment is very interesting. And that, yes, because of an individual will often color the character of the administration that they have authority over at the time. And that we've seen Trumpism at this point that has been quite bullish. And because of that, we had... operations in Nigeria at around Christmas, and then we woke up to the new year and the Venezuelan president had been kidnapped, and Trump now says he wants Greenland, and Denmark, who usually would almost be leaning on the side of pacifism, then said, excuse me, but you can't just wake up and do this what you want to do, take over Europe, take over Britain. And while that is all happening, Trump looks back at Africa and other regions and says, okay, you guys want to come here for now, we're not giving you visas, and if we do, we're going to ask you for $15,000 bond on that to hold so that you make sure you go back to where you've come from. Interestingly enough, Kenya is not on that list. Not on that list. So we're asking the question today that in the geopolitical power plays that we are seeing taking place, is Kenya ready to actually sit in this position, and that forms the basis for our conversation today. Do we expect the kind of things that we're seeing in the world and how the change is coming about? And will they change with the departure of Donald J. Trump? Because, people may say they're going to breathe a sigh of relief because he can't run again for the presidency. He'll be done in 2028. Correct. But how does that change the world? Prof. Kakonjo, start with you.
Let's first of all disbundle what is happening. Because so many things are happening, but one would think they have started with Trump, but the world has been changing.
Right.
I would say it started changing from February 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, and we started seeing elements of unilateralism in the global system. The system before, or the system that we have lived under, is the system we call the liberal order, or the liberal international order. And the liberal international order, for those of you who like reading books, started with the announcement by the American scholar Francis Fukuyama that this is the end of history, because the Soviet Union had collapsed, and therefore that was the end of history. And you saw the rise of a certain concept that were previously not as dominant as they were: the question of human rights, the issue of democracy, talk about free market, and later on globalization. All those concepts came into play, and they were signposts of that liberal order. And liberal order also said, in the right of human rights, the sovereignty of countries was itself limited. But if you have to intervene in another country, it has to be a collective effort. Back to your proverb. And it has to be authorized by the UN. And even if it is done by regional organizations like the African Union, it still has to be authorized by the UN Security Council, basically putting multilateralism at the center of global governance. Fast forward from Crimea, then we started seeing America as a major power, basically bombing countries across the world, from Iraq, Afghanistan, and so on. But this was done in the guise of what we are calling coalitions of the willing. You are violating the law, but you are also claiming collective solidarity or collective action by a number of countries. And this was opposed by many, including Nelson Mandela and others who came out openly and dismissed it. Now, we have entered, now that liberal order we talked about is now finished. From January 2026, it's over. And sometimes change doesn't announce itself. You just see it has happened. Why? Because the main custodian of the liberal order, the high priest of the liberal order, has basically left the church. He's no longer the priest.
A good analogy.
Yes, the high priest has left the church.
The bishop has backslidden.
And the bishop has backslidden. So America was the policeman of that liberal order. And now America has exited that order by going to Venezuela, threatening Panama, threatening Greenland, threatening Iran, and many other countries in the world. At a time when it is not the only power now. In regard to technology, it ranks number 2. In many cases, even number 3. From solar energy to whatever. In terms of the nuclear capacity, in terms of sophistication, it actually might be ranking 2nd, not even very fast. Particularly when it comes to the speed and defense. If you look at what China is doing now, and India. And therefore, the issue here is, yes, you have gone unilateral. You have become interventionist. You have gone back to the 19th century colonialism, where you now occupy Venezuela and say you are going to run Venezuela, which is basically colonization, essentially, in order to use its resources to assert your dominance globally. Because Venezuela has, I think, said to be having about 30% of the global petroleum capacity. So it's all about resources, and Trump seems to be basically championing a return to the 19th century. And that is where the danger is.
But even as we look at it that way, there has been push for multilateralism to be allowed to take place, people to sit down and have all these discussions, UN has been seen as the body where everybody goes to report the other person who is ostensibly not playing by the rules. But UN for a very long time, including Africa, has called out UN for not having the teeth to bite. And we know why, because you look at the United States of America, it is the biggest contributor at UN, and everyone fears that if we call them out, they might withdraw. Withdrawal has happened. Right. And today, United States is seen as the aggressor, as the enemy of what one would call the global order. And many are saying now we're staring at a new global world order, because you look at the likes of BRICS that are coming in and challenging the dollarization that has seen the world where it is today. You look at why Trump went to Venezuela. How dare you de-dollarize and sell your petroleum products using euro? How do you do that? What are we looking at? Where is the world headed in a world where everyone seems to be ganging against the US, or are they even ganging against the US?
I think I'll continue from where Prof has left it, and we need to historicize and of course also contextualize the problem and the issue. The context that we're in today, and why the US has been in such a pole position. Right at the start, the US was considered to be one of those emerging powers. I mean, we were looking at 100 plus years ago. That was really basically, interested in global goodwill. This system that we have today starts in at 1900, just after World War 1919, after World War I. And US was not a major aggressor in World War I. World War I was actually pitting Britain and Germany. Woodrow Wilson then comes up with leads the world to come up with the League of Nations to ensure that such wars, don't happen, and global peace, security, and security is guaranteed. The interesting thing is that the League of Nations is established and the US does not join it, despite the fact that they were the ones who actually established it in the first instance. And of course, League of Nations is then set aside because a number of wars happened, including ours here. The Italians attacking Ethiopia and being, handed clobbered properly, which was an embarrassment to Europe. Of course, World War II then starts, and again, the US is not a major aggressor. They joined the war on the tail end, actually, and ensure that the war is won by the Allies. The aggressors remained more or less the same, Germany and Britain. The world order changed there quite rapidly, and people thought that actually Russia was an issue. Russia was never an issue. Russia was part of the Allies, and in fact, even China was part of the Allies, together with the US and so on. But anyway, we see now a more robust system being put in place, again led by the same US. And we see a whole lot of, the U.S. Security Council coming in, the General Assembly being established, all major powers, apart from the axis of evil, if you can call it that, the aggressors, and there are very few, being set aside, and immediately the Allies plus 50 plus nations then join and establish this bit with a very clear mandate that number one, such wars should never happen. It should be prevented. And the only way to prevent it is through multilateralism at that broader global level. Of course, we see the Allies themselves making themselves permanent members of the Security Council, which we question to date whether in this time and age that should actually be happening. We see a plethora of organizations being put in place, including the World Bank and so on, the WTO, that then starts protecting the global economic system, and this is being put in place largely by the US,
right?
And to the benefit of the US. To sort of just send my point home, we then end up with this very sophisticated global system with hundreds of agencies doing different things, some which are not even associated with the UN. Like the World Bank itself, people don't associate the World Bank with the UN. But in fact, the World Bank was one of the key outputs of the Bretton Woods institution of the multilateral system, the IFCs and so on. I think we normally just see the UN in terms of the UNGA, the General Assembly, the Security Council, and maybe the agencies like Habitat and stuff like that. But a lot of these organizations actually came from there. Now, to get to where we are, and that's why I'll not really be concerned. Totally about what Trump is doing. I think it's a passing cloud, but I think it's also a time for shift within the UN system. I'll illustrate one agency that I've been very, very close to illustrate my point, and that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This convention and its Kyoto Protocol, for very many years, the biggest financier of this agency was the US.
Yes.
And the US was never a member of that agency, because we're saying, no, you must stop using fossil fuel. We must protect the environment. We must do all these different things. And the US then pushed for very many years, and in 2009, under President Obama, Copenhagen, the Kyoto Protocol then gets amended, and the US then joins, and we're very happy that now, climate diplomacy, everybody's on board because the US is on board. Then, of course, Obama leaves, a couple of presidencies, Trump comes in, and they get out again.
Right.
That was not now. That was Trump one. Yeah, and it continues. But what I used to find interesting was that despite the US not being in UNFCCC, the negotiation would not proceed without the US position.
Yes.
And this is my question.
And
Why?
And they were still financing it. The issue,
because they're financing it, because there are other nations at the table.
Exactly.
There are other nations at the table who could continue with their deliberations and who could say this, but they wait.
Correct.
For the US to be there. You're giving.
Correct.
A certain amount of power to their hands, even without them asking for it.
And that is, in fact, and that is one thing we need to look at in terms of how global power play is being done. And how it has been done. Again, we look at that particular Copenhagen 2009 was very, very important for us. And if you check the way those negotiations were done, the whole world, US had just rejoined, and the whole world couldn't agree on the outcome of those deliberations. How was it done? What happened was that Obama arrived. Obama of all people, Obama arrives, and again with their problems. In fact, Hugo Chavez was on the floor. I was there, supporting the African Union. Hugo Chavez announces that the biggest polluter on earth has arrived because he could smell sulfur. And before Hugo Chavez could finish his speech, Obama had arrived at the conference hall. You know what happened? Hugo Chavez was removed from the platform. Countries were already listed in terms of the statements they're going to make.
Yeah.
Obama did not queue. He came in through his own entrance, and he went straight to the stage with US security, with optics. Meanwhile, forget about this traffic interference in Kenya. There was no traffic movement in the whole of Copenhagen.
Because Obama...
Because Air Force One had landed, and Obama was using the roads. In fact, everybody was advised to stay in the hotels. And Obama arrives then, makes his speech. I think symbolically this was very interesting. Hugo Chavez is removed from the stage. Obama arrives, and he was very bubbly. So Obama is shaking hands with presidents. And so Hugo Chavez is amongst the ones who had stretched his hand to be shaken. But before Obama could reach it, and this is available online, US security came and blocked him. Blocked Obama from shaking Chavez's hand.
Yeah.
Of course, Obama pretended that he didn't know what was happening and ran back to the stage and, of course, made his speech. But that's not the point I wanted to make. The Copenhagen gets resolved in this way. Obama calls Chinese president, the Denmark president, South Africa president Zuma, there were 5 and one other president. They'll go to Air Force One, and Obama, in fact, first he said that it doesn't matter what the outcome would be. After he had just won the Nobel, and he said the US has already taken his position. And they went in, they come out of Air Force One, and it's announced that Copenhagen Accord has been agreed. All these other guys, presidents and countries, were actually just watching. So my point is that the current multilateral space within the UN space is not a space of equals, and is not an equitable space at all.
Okay.
And what the US has done, which is really spectacular, which is actually I think I like, is basically saying, okay, fine, we are going to withdraw out of this space. And of course, we're not even calling their bluff. They've already withdrawn. So the question, the soul searching that has to be done is to say, okay, fine, really, is US still such a critical and a polar member that a number of UN agencies can't continue? That's number one. The second question that must be asked, really, is that remember, this system that we have now was created in 1945. 1945 is how many years ago now? That is almost a century.
Yeah.
The question is that does this system need reform? And I think it does need reform. The US itself is saying, look, I mean, we can work outside of this system. This thing is not as efficient as it actually used to be. We've seen countries pick and choose, when to be part of the system.
Yeah.
The system is still very, very important. In fact, a lot of those Trump things are in 3 years they'll have been reversed anyway. So the US is not living. This system is for their benefit. And it will be disastrous for them to leave.
To get out of it.
To get out of it permanently.
Okay, so Prof. Kagwanja, when we look at the decisions that are then made, and the most recent one that we see where the United States has cherry-picked a number of countries that will remain on the good boy list, and others who for now will not. How does this play? Kenya being one of them. So you see funding being pulled out of a number of UN agencies who are domiciled right here in Kenya. But at the same time, you're still leaving the door open for Kenya's citizens to come to the United States. Does this mean that Kenya is the darling at
Even
the
health
moment?
funding.
Even health funding.
New funding has been done for Kenya.
New
AGOA
funding
has
for
been
Kenya.
opened.
AGOA has been reopened. Does it mean that Kenya, one of the countries that remains a darling in the United States list of cherished ones? Or is it still part of the power play? That in the moment where you deny us, refuse us, we can also tell you that you're off the list.
I think we need to put Kenya in the context of global governance because there is absolutely nothing special about Kenya. If you compare it, for example, with Uganda, or even more Nigeria, South Africa, or Egypt. Kenya, by its position in the Horn of Africa, has what we call the dual hegemony. Shared with Ethiopia, because Ethiopia is the other regional power in the Great Horn of Africa.
Yeah.
Ethiopia is also important because it's the headquarter of the African Union. But Kenya is the headquarter of the United Nations in the Global South.
Yeah.
It's basically the capital of the world in the Global South. And that this muscle is not diminishing, it's actually growing.
Correct.
Because the decision has been made and the process is on course to move most of the key offices from New York to Nairobi. And therefore Nairobi is going to become one of the major UN headquarters, comparable to New York in many ways. And now when you also begin to look at the Nairobi specifically and other Kenyan capitals, Kenya is beginning to become the commercial capital of Africa. Perhaps beginning to become even more important than Johannesburg. Take, for example, I was having a meeting with the Swedish ambassador, and mentions, the phenomenal growth of Swedish investment in Kenya. Now getting to 50 companies here. The French have moved from slightly above 10 companies by around 2005, 2007, now to almost 120 companies operating from here.
Right.
That if you are to say Kenya is the most important French country for France in Africa, almost perhaps more important than Cote d'Ivoire or Senegal. And you can go on to talk about Kenya as a little pad from where other countries are operating to do their business in South Sudan, in Somalia, and other volatile regions of Africa. And of course, Kenya has itself had a wonderful diplomacy based on the concept of pragmatism, that you are essentially led by your national interests.
Correct.
To the point that you have no problem with the East and you have no problem with the West. And therefore, Kenya is a darling of China in terms of major investment in infrastructure and technology, particularly the IT. Kenya is the recipient of the most sophisticated Chinese technology in the solar energy, and so to say. So the largest plant on the continent is here. So what Trump is trying to do is to champion basically American interests. And America has one of the largest embassies in Kenya. Operating, across the continent.
Correct.
And remember where Kenya is now. In terms of stability, we are talking about America's Indo-Pacific strategy. And Indo-Pacific strategy is how you control, or you have established your influence in the 40-plus countries that are bordering the Indian Ocean. And America doesn't want to lose that.
Correct.
Remember, they also have a base here in Mada.
Yes, they do, actually.
Yes, they have a military base.
Correct.
And the alternative one they have in Djibouti. They are relocating.
Exactly.
Camp Lemoire.
So it would appear to me, and I can't run away from the analogy, that there are nations of the world that are playing monopoly with the African continent.
Yes.
Right.
That you want to, for the time that you're playing this game, own some geography. And I say own to an extent because that's what it looks like.
Right.
Yes.
How does that then play, Professor Omanya, against what we have been trying for the longest time, maybe not even trying, attempting to think about trying, in terms of African unity? Because it is no secret that one of the threats to geopolitical strength is the unification of Africa.
Right.
And it doesn't seem that this is possible.
Correct.
If the big boys of the world are playing monopoly with Africa.
Yes, I think what you're saying is very, very important and actually quite critical. But you remember Africa, even within the UN system, Africa is 54 nations. It used to be 53 plus Morocco. So the real voting power of Africa is something that the West is afraid of. Just by votes, because even within the UN, you actually vote. I can tell you, we got involved in a very small way, again within the UNFCCC. We got involved in challenging the global governance. Because what was happening was that, and I'll illustrate that and come back to your point about Kenya and global politics and African unification. I personally was in charge of creating something called CAHOSC. And I was told it's illegal. CAHOSC was Committee of African Heads of State on Climate Change. In fact, we met in Ethiopia during that time. And I was told that countries are sovereigns. So you can't have a committee of presidents outside of the UN system, who then I chaired by somebody. Believe it or not, CAHOSC lives today. In fact, our president Ruto is a chair. But our strategy was very simple. That of course it was assaulted by the West. Our strategy was very simple. That can we get African nations to vote together as one? And this was assaulted straight away. In fact, in that Copenhagen meeting, our first chairman was the late Meles Zenawi. And Meles Zenawi was speaking directly with the US. And meanwhile, we had created a structure where Africans were speaking to each other. At technical level, this was being led by Algeria. I remember the Algerian minister crying and hugging me in Copenhagen, saying, he's never seen this type of unity amongst Africans, where all the countries had taken same positions on everything. When it came to negotiations, each country was specialized. That's how we had organized them. And I was told that this has to stop. In fact, that's how I got literally expelled from Ethiopia and African Union. And what happened was that the US talked with Meles. Meles then generated his own position. This position was challenged. The first people to challenge it was President Zuma. Our late President Kibaki came and said, no, we don't agree with this. Michuki then was the Minister for Environment, told me we are very proud of what Alfred, what you as a Kenyan you're doing outside here. Abdullahi Wade came and challenged it and said, look, we have an African position that has been agreed with 54 nations. You cannot go and agree with the US.
When you say you talked to when you say the US talked to Zenawi,
yes,
I am curious as to the nature of these talks. It seems a little bit more than, well, this is the American position. Come on, Zenawi. I mean,
of course. We'll not get into the details, but something was happening then in African Union that was quite unhealthy. A number of presidents were positioning themselves on two areas only, and a lot of them were presidents with very poor credentials, governance credentials, including some of our neighbors here who have just won power. They were positioning themselves on peacekeeping in Somalia. Claiming that because they've got a military experience and so on, they're the only ones who could stabilize Somalia. And then the other neutral space they were working on was the climate change space. Because they were literally pariah states. So that would enable them to actually have direct conversations with presidents in the West, led by the US, who actually, under normal circumstances, would have wanted them out of power. So basically that is what was happening between Meles and the US and whatever. He used that window to discuss a whole lot of things. And then the positions that came in, we looked at them and say, but this is exactly US position. And this is not our position. But anyway, the point is that African unity, even within the bigger global politics, has always been under assault anyway. I am a big advocate for actually what I call economic intelligence. And this is both at global and regional levels anyway. And we look at it, we are in a very complex situation. We have our historical issues where, for example, the UK has almost 5 bases in Kenya. Some training bases, some proper military bases, some collaborative bases. The US, of course, has Amanda Island and also a number of logistical bases where you can literally launch an attack, in the region. And even what Prof was talking about here, the Indian Ocean Cooperation. Do you think these fellows would actually want to listen to African Union to guide some things? No. The answer is no.
So they fund you.
They would rather go bilateral in those sort of things. In fact, one of the major problems that we have in our we've had in our diplomacy and also a solution is that China has been very intent on doing a naval base in Kenya because of the large interest in Indian Ocean trade and so on. And the US is against it. Totally, of course, that's actually quite understood. And then, of course, so historically we have the infrastructure and alliance that we've had, particularly with the UK and the US, and that is not going out, is not disappearing anytime soon. Then we have our pragmatic alliance with China, using China's policy of development first, and so on. And then, of course, we also have now our issues with IGAD. We have our issues with COMESA. We have our issues with AU and so on. And whichever way we look at it, as a sovereign nation, and a nation that already has some advantages, we need some very sophisticated intelligence in our foreign policy. Yeah, we have to walk this tightrope so that, of course, Kenya tried a number of things, non-alliance, what, they've really not worked. But so far, I think Kenya has played these cards relatively well, so that within the bilateral space, you can go to Trump and discuss Rwanda. On the other side, you sign agreements with China. And so on. And then, of course, you are also chairing these regional bodies and so on. But within it requires high-level political intelligence, and it also requires, national interest. Some of these things work for us as a nation anyway, but some of them work against our nation.
So You look at all that and where Kenya finds itself today, and we have BRICS, which is the new boy in the region, right? And one thing that has stood out within BRICS is their new payment system, which they call BRICS Pay. And what BRICS Pay has done is it has enabled both countries not to trade using the dollar. You use your local currency. And if you look at what African leaders had tried before, you look at Muammar Gaddafi and what he was pushing for and what that led to him pretty much being taken out.
Correct.
And today, Africa has come up with PAPs that has enabled African countries to trade among each other. And then PAPs becoming the intermediary between Africa trading with BRICS Pay and making it easier to avoid the dollar. Kenya has shown intention of joining BRICS, and that would mean getting in there and also using its currency, avoiding the dollar. With the US pushing the way it's pushing, look at what has happened in Venezuela. Read that together with what happened to Muammar Gaddafi. Where is Kenya playing at? Where is Kenya playing at? Because the big boy does not want you to devalue the dollar.
Well, the de-dollarization of the world is inevitable.
Yes.
And
that is true.
America's invasion of Venezuela is an attempt to delay that.
Correct.
It is aware that it cannot change it. Because what America has been doing is illegal. That you find your economy shaky, then you tamper with the notes. And therefore you are backing yourself or backing your wealth on the basis that you control the entire world.
Yes.
And therefore you're using the wealth of other people to strengthen your currency, not the strength of your economy.
Of the economy, correct.
And that's criminal in the economic world. Now, because the dollar is supposed to reflect the power of the American economy, not the economy of the world,
of the globe, correct.
So the de-dollarization is a very legitimate call for currencies to reflect the strength of their economies. And no currency is supposed to reflect the economy of the world. The rebellion did not start with Kenya. Did not start with Africa. It started with Europe. The creation of the euro was basically a challenge to the dollar.
True.
And the idea here was to ensure that the economy, the euro, reflect the economy of the collective economy of Europe rather than the dollar. And that's why the euro is stronger than the dollar, because it is strong. So fast forward, Kenya. Well, Kenya has swung from time to time like a roller coaster.
That is true. It's a pendulum.
Between these powers. So even when we're talking about pragmatism, we would perhaps choose another uglier word to describe that swing. It has not been a moral swing. In a sense, we started by denying that we are hosting America's military bases in Kenya.
Correct.
So the debate of the 1980s was no. When we knew we had,
we don't have.
So we are keeping it out of our political. And much of the, I used to read more Kenyas, and now because they cannot jail me in retrospect. And one of the big issues and the point of anger was the fact that we are hosting America's military base when we are supposed to be a non-aligned country.
That's true.
But give credit to Kenya. We are one of the founders of Pan-Africanism. Jomo Kenyatta was the secretary, together with Kwame Nkrumah, of the 1945 Manchester conference, which basically defined the pillars of what Pan-Africanism is. It is about nationalism, it is about Pan-Africanism, and it's about humanism. And in the global world, in the global politics, geopolitics, we are supposed to be neutral, which is not just being not saying that you're not taking sides, but you have positive neutrality.
Correct.
You take side with what works for the world.
Exactly.
It's not about not making the choice. You make the choice, but make the positive choice. Now, with Adamui, we went on a policy called good neighborliness. Basically, it's a way of recognizing everybody as a player, irrespective of where they are coming from, but at the same time looking at our interests. And that's why I think one of Moi's most successful side of things was, diplomacy. Kenyatta diplomacy was nowhere comparable with Moi's diplomacy. Moi's diplomacy was more sophisticated. Obviously, Kibaki one became even more sophisticated and even written so that you can predict it. And Uhuru basically pushed Kenya to a whole new level, and we are still harvesting those fruits of, very good diplomacy. William Ruto came, and in his own way, if you judge him from the 3 or so years he's been in power, he has also added weight to Kenya's diplomacy in a fundamental way. There have been those swings, wild swings we've talked about. The wild swings have been there, but again, in terms of the victory of our diplomacy, yes, it was a bit adventurous to allow Kenya to be a NATO ally, because in the first place, we are not a military power. We are a soft power nation.
That's true.
So it is like you want to fight with Tyson, and you are featherweight. Basically, you'll be crashing to pulp. You have to make your choices. So when it comes to Africa, the pillars of what guides us as Kenyans and as Africans is that first we start with the nationalism, the country itself. Let's look at Ghana. Let's look at South Africa. Let's look at Egypt and their interest. And then we negotiate those interests at the Pan-African stage. That's the African Union. And even before, we filter them at the regional level. The East African Community, IGAD, SADC, ECOWAS. That's where you filter most of this. By the time you come to the African Union, you almost have a near consensus from regions. And then you build consensus at the African Union level. And from that point then, you can engage the world. And Africa's policy has been quite sophisticated. Prof, you must have seen during this time when Trump invades Venezuela and threatens to go to Greenland, the reaction by the Africans from the social media perspective is to bring back the concept of the United States of Africa. And it is there. And the quest for a United States of Africa to confront the rest of the world is now a dream for many. Kwame Nkrumah had it, Nyerere had it, and Muammar Gaddafi articulated it and even financed it. And I can say, as we stand now, I think somewhere I was making this point, that I'm a very proud Kenyan, or I'm a very proud African, because President Yoweri Museveni and I share the same passport.
Yes, exactly. That is true. And we all do. We all use the East African passport. That is true.
Passport. And the president of Congo, DRC, and I share the same passport. Only that they're issued by their own country, but it's the same passport.
It's the same passport, You see,
the East African passport. That tells you that we are now closer.
We're moving,
We're getting there, and it's understand
from the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean to the Red Sea. We have countries that share the same passport.
And I tend to look at it also in maybe a few softer ways. And but then the overall question for me would then be, who bells the cat? The names that you've given are individuals who spoke beyond the boundaries of their countries to say, look, folks, we need to do something about this. Nkrumah spoke beyond the coasts of Ghana. Gaddafi spoke beyond Libya. We have Nyerere, who spoke beyond Tanzania. I mean, it was that idea that came beyond that. We start to see that people are embracing Africa differently from how they did before.
Yes.
Nigerians are coming on holiday to Kenya. It never happened. No. It never happened. Nigeria will go to America. Nigeria will go to the UK. Nigeria will go to Europe for holiday. West Africa is coming to East Africa on holiday. East Africans are going to the southern part of Africa on holiday. Don't always have to go to the... And it's happening. But these are things that seem to be happening in isolation. We still can't travel
Correct.
Within our continent smoothly.
Exactly.
If I want to go to Morocco, I must go to Dubai first.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I'm in Abuja and I want go to Morocco, I will go to Addis Ababa, and then maybe go to Dubai and then come back because there's no connecting flight.
Right.
It costs you $500 to fly from Nairobi to Dar es Salaam.
Right.
These are the things that we are talking about, and then to have the consensus on even to be able to use the same currency.
Right.
Who bells the cat? Do we need a modern day Nkrumah?
Yes.
Do we need somebody who's going to say, come on, guys, the African Union, all respect that's due, seems to be more and more of a puppet organization, which receives a lot of its funding from the very people that we are still trying to gain current day independence from. Who does this?
You don't do. I am actually one of those people who've been extreme Afro-optimist. One of the things that I did at a personal level as a young man, I don't even know how I was able to work on that. I came back. I was studying out of the country, and I came to the country. Then the late Magoha was the vice chancellor of University of Nairobi, and I went to him. I wanted a session with him. And one of the key things that I was interested in was how we could get more African students studying in Kenya. And I felt that was going to be an education policy. That was very important. And it was very important for me because I was saying, I want to see Ghanaians, Nigerians, and so on at the University of Nairobi and at Kenyatta University and so on. Because education, of course, then I was only looking at education because it was my space. But I felt that, these are some of the direct spaces of integration. This is very important for me. Of course, when I joined African Union, one of the key things that I was working on, actually, was in my own small climate change space. I'm actually the one who established the climate change unit in African Union. And one of the key things that I was working on, I said, no, we can't come here and start discussing things as African Union. We must start from the regional economic blocks. We must ensure that ECOWAS is doing the thing, ESC is doing the things, IGAD is doing the things, and so on. And then we come together at that level. I was very happy, very excited with the little pieces that Mbeki had left there, NEPAD, that was trying to push those sort of agendas, exactly. I must say that even currently, in my own very small way, people just know me as a teacher there. One of the things that we are looking at is I'm actually the infrastructure director of AfriFund Capital. And as we are talking now, we have 1.1 trillion Kenya shillings to invest in the corridor. And our interest, what we've been looking at, are these basically the same corridors that the colonialists used to exploit us. We are saying, can we use them as corridors for prosperity, as corridors of integration? Whether you're looking at Lapsset going all the way to Douala, whether you're looking at Babito corridor from Angola coming all the way to Tanzania and so on, and there are very many. And we're saying our people can actually benefit from these corridors. These corridors have resources. These corridors have potential for integration. These corridors have just disjointed infrastructure. You're talking about flying outside there. These corridors have potential of having basic rail network that within hours you'll have left Kenya and you'll be in West Africa actually. And we're looking at some of these corridors from a very pragmatic point of view. But to come to your point, we are not finding correspondence at that African Union level. We're not finding presidents who are saying, in fact, it's on Mbeki who was talking about those things, who are saying, no, we need to prioritize Israel. And Kibaki, as you say, when Lapsset was being conceived, it was being conceived as something that would connect Indian Ocean to the Atlantic, eventually, once it was done. And we need a lot more of those leaders and a lot more of those visionaries, as it actually were. Part of the challenge that we have, and we have to face it head on, is that we have illegitimate and mediocre presidents in Africa.
It was going to come.
Exactly. These guys are in power illegally. And by illegitimate, in fact, what I'm focusing on here is illegitimacy. I don't mean democratic. Yeah. we had legitimate presidents in Africa who were not democratic, like the late Muammar Gaddafi. He was legitimate.
Yes, he was.
And you see, the problem is that if you're a thief, it's very difficult for you, a known thief, it's very difficult for you to come and tell church people that now you're taking them to heaven. and this is part of the problem that we have, that a lot of presidents don't have the moral fiber and the moral authority to talk about Pan-Africanism
But
while they are actually in power in their own countries.
But Prof, we are not interested in going to heaven. We're going to Singapore.
Very, very true. So this is part of the challenge that we have, that the quality of leadership that we have and how the guys got into office sort of undermines their potential to get to Pan-Africanism. When our own president here got elected, one of the things that I was very excited about, I've had occasion to talk to him once or twice, but I think the real thing about great leaders at all levels, great leaders, starting with the proverb that we're talking about, great leaders are able to balance, own interest and even own country's interests and these broader global interests. They're able to take on more. And this is at all levels. A great president would be able to think Africa and think the world and bring guys together, even as he's thinking Kenya.
Right.
A great governor would be able to think his party and would be able to think his region and would be able to think nation, even as he thinks his county. A great vice chancellor of a university would be able to think Kenyan education system. Would be able to think Kenya university system, even as he runs his institution. What we are lacking is actually it is a desert of greatness. A great preacher would be able to think the church generally and even think ecumenism, what the other denominations are doing, because we have a common good, even while he runs his church. A great family member would be able to think about his children, even as he thinks about his orphan brother's children, and even as he thinks about the relative who disappeared 20 years ago and they had no idea where it was. We are suffering lack of greatness at all levels. We just have little thieves in the village. We have little thieves in the counties. We have little thieves running countries. It is smallness. We are suffering from smallness. We have small president people running the biggest economy on earth in the name of Donald Trump in diapers. We have smallness. And my bigger call and do today is let us all rise to greatness. Let me and Prof here sit here and think about the future of the academy beyond the money we are putting in our pockets. Think about the future of our country beyond the money we're putting in our pockets. We are suffering, from a disease called smallness.
Okay, I don't know if that's it.
We have to liberate ourselves from smallness.
Absolutely. The smallness liberation must happen, and that seems
somebody
to be
said that that syndrome is worse than Ebola, COVID-19, malaria, and HIV combined.
We even have men stealing from their wives and wives stealing from their men, not knowing that if your wife is successful there,
you will be successful.
You'll be successful as well.
Say it again.
Yeah.
My goodness. Professor Alfred Omenya, as well as Professor Peter Kagwanja, have joined us this morning. I mean, this is masterclass stuff that we need to actually be imbibing. Put it in a bottle, sell it.
Let's drink it.
Let's drink it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here this morning. Conversations that must continue. Let's do it again. Awuor, we have to continue this. Part 2 coming soon.
Yes.
Thank you guys very much for creating a platform for this type of conversations.
Must happen. Right. Thank you so much. It's 2 minutes past 8. Good morning.
Thank you.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The Controller Budget had watered has watered down President William Ruto's ambition to transform Kenya into a Singapore-like economy, warning that the vision is unattainable as long as fiscal projections remain disconnected from citizens' lived realities. Margaret Nyakango said Kenya risks becoming a puppet of the International Monetary Fund if it continues to overlook persistent credibility and implementation gaps in its fiscal framework. Speaking during the launch of the Macro Fiscal Analytics snapshot by the Institute of Public Finance, Nyakango noted that rising household vulnerability, low wages and elevated poverty levels undermine the feasibility of the Singapore dream. She urged the government to critically assess IMF conditionalities, which often involve rapid fiscal tightening, constrained social spending, restricted development expenditure and heightened political resistance. Meanwhile, the IMF has released a long-awaited audit of Kenya's corruption vulnerabilities, making its recommended reforms a central condition for resuming bailout talks with the government next month. The move piles pressure on President William Ruto's administration as public debt surges past 12 trillion shillings. An IMF spokesperson told the Standard that a staff visit from Washington, D.C. to Nairobi is scheduled for February to continue discussions on a potential new financial program. The committee tasked with overseeing implementation of the 10-point agenda and the NADCO report has defended itself against claims that it does not have the political goodwill and funds to undertake the task. Critics say the committee was never funded after its creation by President William Ruto and the now deceased ODM leader Raila Odinga, and had been largely dormant until it re-emerged last week to meet Head of Public Service Felix Kosgei. On Thursday, members of the committee defended themselves against allegations of dragging their feet, saying they've already covered a wide scope of issues to achieve the right output. Here's the committee vice chairperson Javas Bigambo.
Kamati hii inazidi kujizatiti katika kuangalia jinsi ambavyo utekelezaji wa ajenda hizi 10 unavyoendelea na wale ambao ni washikadau wakuu ambao ni watekelezaji, na tungependa kuhimiza wanasiasa, haswa wale ambao pengine msimamo wao wa kisiasa hauko na swala la broad based, kwamba kamati hii ni kamati ya kitaifa, sio kamati ya uegemeo, na ni kamati ambayo inashughulikia masuala ya utaifa na kuhakikisha kwamba inashughulika na kukutana na washikadau mbalimbali, kwamba kazi hii mwishowe itakuwa ya kuinua swala la utawala katika nchi ya Kenya.
The committee chair Agnes Zani said they've had meetings with cabinet secretaries, state departments, government agencies and constitutional commissions. She also announced that the committee is set to seek public views.
Beginning next month, we shall move on to a very important part of our work as a committee, and that's the country-wide stakeholder engagements, where we intend to meet Kenyans right in the grassroots to listen to them, because this is an inclusive process and we want everybody to come on board at the various levels to talk about the NADCO report and 10-point agenda and their assessment of its implementation. We'll be able there to exchange ideas and seek the recommendations on the Kenya that we want.
A youth group association and human rights lobby from Nakuru County have challenged the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to take action against Nakuru West MP Samuel Arama. They claim that the MP made divisive remarks which are likely to spark ethnic animosity at his constituency while issuing bursary checks on Friday last week. Speaking after presenting the petition at NCIC headquarters in Nairobi on Thursday, the group led by Kennedy Langat said the MP ought to be summoned to face legal action. France says it has seized an oil tanker in the Mediterranean suspected of being part of Russia's sanction-busting shadow fleet. French President Emmanuel Macron said the tanker, named the Grinch, was subject to international sanctions as suspected of flying a false flag. The French Navy, and with the assistance of allies including the UK, boarded the vessel on Thursday morning between Spain and Morocco. Moscow's so-called shadow fleet is a clandestine network of tankers used to evade Western sanctions on Russian oil exports by shipping the oil on aged tankers with obscure ownership or insurance. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who are initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries. Internally, we used to stand and tell you, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
You have land, Dennis. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around. Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament. So
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament.
Well, when he said
the government,
when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda mbali sana hii. So we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 10 minutes after 8 o'clock, and a very good morning to you as we continue conversations this morning. It's Friday, the 23rd of January, and the Situation Room this hour then goes into a conversation around youth and these handouts thing that we're talking about. We've just come up from a conversation about encouraging us not to operate in smallness, and that perhaps is the problem. Let's see how this one goes, shall we?
Yeah.
Joining us in the room this morning, wherever you're tuned in, our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Our audience on KTN continues to be with us as you get where you're going this Friday. Tap into this conversation. If you're just at that place where you're going to bed, depending on where you are in the world, this one you want to be here for. Duke Mainga is the chairman of the Youth Commodity Fund, joins us in the hot seat this morning. Duke, good morning.
Good morning, G.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. You're well?
Yes, I'm good.
Fantastic. Tabitha Oluoch is a youth participation champion with Siasa Place and joins us in the hot seat as well. Good morning. How are you doing? Fine, thank you. Say good morning again.
Okay.
There you go.
There
Okay.
you go.
Fantastic. Good to be here. We'll put both of you to work at the beginning of it all. Dennis wants to share today's proverb. We'd love your interpretation of it.
Okay, so today we're in Angola. The capital is Luanda, and not the Luanda that you know in Kenya, somewhere in Busia. But we are in Angola, a country that is rich in oil, gold, diamond, right? And they also have a great number of what we call mbuyu, in the country, and that continues to change how the country looks like. So that is the baobab tree. Also, after the civil war in the country, today as we speak, some areas you go, you don't just walk aimlessly because they still have live landmines that were left there following the civil war, and the country continues to clear that up so that the citizens are safe and secure. But let's go to the proverb. To walk alone is almost not to walk. To sing alone is almost to murmur. Ladies go first. How would you interpret it? What do you think Angolans are saying today?
Thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here speaking today to young people and also for young people today. As per your proverb, I'd like to relate it to like the topic of today, where we are talking about handouts. I believe when you talk about to walk alone is to
walk alone is almost not to walk.
It's almost not to walk, and I believe that's what happened. That's what's happening. These funds are being in silos. Hustler Fund is on the other end. Uwezo Fund is on the other end. Nyota Fund is on the other end. So if these funds are consolidated together, maybe they'd walk a longer path than just being a temporary path. That's how I look at it.
Duke.
Thank you. First, thank you again for having me here. It's a pleasure. I would say that there is power in numbers. And you can only go farther if you go with the people, you go with the majority. So never despise a united force. Yes.
Well said. Well put.
Indeed. Never despite a united force, go together, put all these things together in the same basket. Takes us into our conversation for this morning. Empowering the youth beyond handouts. Very simple question from the very beginning. Tabitha, how can that be done? Or actually, let's say, is handing out money to young people actually empowering them? Not really. First, I think the word empowerment has actually lost its meaning. It was meant to be a tool for liberation. Now we are seeing it as a tool for it's a political buzzword. We see it on top of political rallies, people landing in with big machines, with helicopters, in a platform that they call youth empowerment. And once the air is vanished or the big cars go away, the youths are just back to where they are. They are back to their day-to-day, hand-to-mouth living. They are back to where they were before. So for me, this empowerment and handouts is a temporary solution, or maybe a political campaign tool used by the so-called so-and-so in the different sectors of the whether it's Uwezo, whether it's KOP, whether it's Nyota, all these other names that we have for empowerment. I feel it's a political tool. It's a temporary place where just youths are being put in for 2 months so that we can go into the next thing. I believe we should look at how we can have structures. I know Nyota is talking about empowering young people into being business owners, but we are talking about how youths can start up their business, but we're not talking about how systems around the businesses can be enabled for longevity, for sustainability, for a future beyond just opening a business. Do the youths know about the policies in place for a business? Are they aware of the system, of what KRA requires from them, of what KEBS requires from them, of what these other institutions that create a sustainable business environment? Is the government really creating that environment for these businesses that are supporting the youths to start?
Duke, if you listen to how Tabitha is raising her points, right? One asks the question then, with everything that is happening, with all these funds being put in place, the youth being put together, there is this money here, are we teaching the youth how to fish, or are we giving them fish? And which way should we go?
Thank you very much, my brother. I would say this. If I give you money with a purpose, then I'm empowering you. If I train you to do business, if I train you to do savings, if I give you skills, then that means I've trained you on how to fish. And after you've been trained, you definitely need resources, to actualize or implement the skills that you have attained. So yes, to me, it's empowerment. And what is happening with Nyota currently, people are thinking that it's just about the money that the young people are being given. That is not really the case. There is the training aspect of young people. They are given skills. They are trained with skills in our technical institutes. And there is that training on how to do the savings. They are being enrolled in a mandatory status into NSSF. So they are trained on how they are going to do the savings. And also there is the aspect of, strengthening the systems that is now building the capacity for youth employment. You realize many times we get young people saying that They're not getting employment opportunities in this country, but who's to be employed? It's a youth, a young person with skills, and that is what Nyota is actually doing.
Duke, one would ask the question. You've just mentioned in terms of there's training that is there. There is training that is teaching you how to save. Let's go back to Hustler Fund. It was the very first fund that was there. And one of the policies under Hustler Fund was that even when you apply, say, Aseto has applied for 500 bob, I will not get 500 bob. There is a chunk of that will go into savings. Remember, we're talking about how much was a Hustler Fund? 50 billion? Right?
Yes.
How much was dispensed? How much went into savings? All this information is not there. It is the reason why today people will look at these funds, and one would say these are political cards being used by the political class, not to help the youth become self-sustaining, but it is a token for them to continue coming back for more. Because one would ask, where is the Hustler Fund today?
For me, I'll say
Youth
yes.
Fund today?
Yes.
Where is even Nyota Fund? Those who've received it, what is the ROI, return on investment, on the same? No one can really give you an explanation on the same.
For me, I'll say the issue here is the mindset, and I'll use a real life example. I have two young people who've been supporting me politically back in the village, and sometime last year, the two of them complained. They were saying that we've been supporting you all this time, and we don't feel like we are getting, return on investment on what we are doing. And I looked at them. They wanted me to get them employment opportunities. But when I looked at them, they didn't have the skills, the required documents in order to be employed. So I said, what am I going to do? Let me try and empower these young people to do business. So I went into my savings and I withdrew 100,000 shillings. I said I'm going to give each of them 50,000 shillings. And I told them, look for an idea, look for a business that you're going to do, and we meet at the end of the year. Last Christmas, I went home. One of those young people came to my village home and they brought me 5 chicken. He said, thank you very much, my brother. You assisted me. I'm now rearing a local kienyeji chicken, and my business is doing very, very well. The second one, I'm told he was moving around the village, complaining and saying, calculating that out of the 50,000 for the 5 years that he has worked with me, or that he has been with me, it's like I've been giving him 27 shillings per day. So you were still complaining. Why the other one went ahead and invested his money very well and is now doing very, very well. So my brother, the issue here is mindset. We have always come or faced these issues with a very, very negative mindset. All the time we think that anything government is doing or anything that is coming forth is political. People think about that, but they don't see the real essence. I hear sometimes people say that, is this money enough? How much enough is enough? If I give you 10,000 today, you are not able to use it very well. What is the guarantee that you're going to use 1 million shillings?
Okay, so how do you use, let's be practical. How do you use 10,000 shillings today? What are you setting up? I'd like to hear from both of us, because these are practical things. Let's not put pie in the sky kind of things here. Even 50,000 shillings, let's be practical. If you give somebody 50,000 shillings today, they're supposed to set up a business. Well, that's the assumption, that you're giving them money that is essentially going to do something for them to then bring about a return, bring about a profit that will then spur them onto some kind of sustainability and productivity. What can you do with it?
There's a very interesting sticker on your lift, on this lift. I don't know whether you've ever read it. And every time when you get into this lift and you're coming to this studio, which says that success is the sum of small efforts repeated from day to day. And it's in your lift. I read it every single day. Let me tell you, my sister, that never despise humble beginnings. Many times, some of us who've been privileged and, you are able to make or you're able to get some 500 or 1 million shillings on a monthly basis. Sometimes we look down upon the 10,000 shillings, not knowing that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 shillings for somebody in the village, somewhere back in Mashinani in the grassroots, is a lot of money. This is a person who is capable of beginning, even agriculture. You can plant even bananas on the ground, and you believe in the process. You believe in the process and end up becoming the largest farmer. So let's not despise humble beginnings. I've seen very many young people who've done mayai businesses. Hii ya kugonga hapa kwa barabara. And I've had to discuss with many of them, and they tell me I make 5,000, 1,000 shillings per day.
Okay.
So let's not encourage, idleness. You can be able to build yourself from those small efforts and end up becoming, successful in life.
Do you see this? So like, let's look at the Nyota Fund, for example, Tabitha, and let's look at what most recently, the 6,000 shillings that we go to 90,000 people, per month. Are these sustainable from where you see them? And they're actually uplifters, economical uplifters for young people?
Okay, just to start from where actually he talked about the whole Nyota program, they are saying that now they are moving to first equipping these young people with skills before they give them money. But I have a question to ask. For people who go to, let's say, tertiary institutions and do business courses, I believe through the learning, they are equipped with skills, right?
Mm-hmm. We would hope. It would be a waste of time if they were not.
That they're always equipped with skills. But why is it that it's so difficult for them to transition these skills into like businesses? That's where I come back to what I was talking about. Have we created a business environment that is supportive of these young people when they start these businesses? Because I feel like if you keep on banking on this issue of yes, we are equipping them with skills, I think we've been doing that for the last 60 years since independence, but you can't see a difference on the same. So that's my whole view about this, the whole skill set issue when it comes to approach of Nyota and all these other funds. Coming back to Nyota and its sustainability, previous funds have been temporary funds, if I quote them, from KOP to Wezo Fund to all these other funds. They have just been given different names, but I think they just serve the same purpose. Mm-hmm. They're not sustainable in my view because, one, I think they are designed in silos. You can't design something for young people unless, maybe you'll correct me on this, if they are not on the table. If you don't involve them and get to see what's relevant for them, if they are not involved in the designing of the funds, if they are not involved in budgeting when it comes to what goes into the funds, if they are not encouraged and also just being part of the table when it comes to designing of these projects and sustainabilities of these projects and how these projects would look like for young people, them being left out of the table makes it more like a one-sided, makes it like an ally, a politician youth situation more than a collective situation. So its sustainability for me would be more of a co-creation strategy rather than just politicians doing it.
That quote that you said, do not despise small steps, right? And while at that, it is true, not despite small steps, because even saving starts from that single shilling that you put in, and consistency will make that shilling grow. But let's talk about businesses. Fine. So you've given me this X amount, right? But it is still the very same government or regime that one would say has destroyed the business working environment. Because today you speak to established businessmen and women in the country, and everyone is complaining that the cost of doing business in the country is tough, that investors would want to come into the country to set up businesses that would employ thousands and thousands of these very young people, but that they find the environment being so hostile that they choose to get out of the country. So one would say, whilst we start from humble steps, from humble beginnings with 10,000 shillings, 50,000 shillings, with 6,000 shillings, it is welcomed, right? But what are we doing to fix the entire architecture, the business environment that would make it easier for me with my 6,000 shillings to invest that into business for sustainability purposes? Because fine, you'll give me 6,000 shillings, but how much in terms of percentages am I spending to register a business, for me to opt to buy product, for me to process the same and take it to market and sell for profit? So whilst we talk about giving someone fish to eat or teaching them how to fish, it has to be a collective. It is not just about giving money, but making it easier for people to get into businesses so that it makes sense. You get what I mean? So are we approaching it from that angle, or we have 50 billion shillings, we'll give it out, but we have not fixed the entire taxation regime that makes it easy for Aseto, for your friend at the village to make profit?
I'm one of the advocates. I'm one of the people who's been pushing for tax waiver for young people. My brother, remember that government is buying for the people. And I don't subscribe to this kind of thinking that government is perfect. All the time, I feel like government keeps on evolving. Each and every day, there are new ideas, there are new challenges that they must be fixed. Every day we are talking about what the issues that are facing young people. The other year we were talking about, the Gen Z issues. Today now we are seeing new things happening, young people getting involved, young people being given skills, people, being given resources to begin their businesses. So it is true that there are some policies that have been in government or that are still in government that are being created, and that it's proper that some of these issues get to be reviewed and make the business working environment as favorable as possible as it can be. So I agree with you that there are some punitive policies that need to be done away with or to be reviewed, for instance, and this calls down to just issues of governance. It's just the issues of governance that requires proper leadership to identify, yes, that there is a gap here that we need to fix and make the working environment easier for young people. So with that, I totally agree with you. Yes.
Okay, so I've heard the argument most recently that people who show up for political rallies, and then the majority of them being in the younger demographic of age, is that as they take these handouts, they'd rather take what they can get at that moment than wait because they would not get something else later. So the length and breadth of the participation in that politics at that time is the handout that they will get, and not necessarily the citizen side governance that we all hope for, whereby that you're involved in a process where you are knowing who's coming in as your MCA, you know who's coming in as your member of parliament, you know who's coming in as your women rep, you know who's coming in as your senator, your governor, your president, you know the in and outs. But that we find people who are attending a rally because, okay, that's great, somebody's going to say something, and at the end of it all, we're going to stand up in line, we're going to get something. How do we separate ourselves from the needs? Because I used to, but I'm not faulting anybody who goes to a rally today and gets 200 bob and is able to go home and eat that day. I used to be very judgmental, but I'm not anymore, because you understand the situation that a lot of people are in. They take that money, they eat that day, well and good. But how do we cross over to the place whereby we say, this now is where we create the balance and say you can get the 200, 1,000, whatever, but how are you involved in a system that creates a situation whereby you don't need to take that 200, 500?
Yeah, so it brings us back to what you've been saying. I think for the longest, youths have been used like in tokenistic ways. You come here, I organize you, you become like my goons, I pay you 500, but 520. Online, they pay 527. So they're paying 527. They go make noise online. But, yeah, I think there's need for, as we head into 2027, we should be moving from just voter education to political education.
How?
Because, hear me out. Voter education is basically what IBC would go and tell voters, this is how you mark a ballot paper. But you should move to telling these people that these are the functions of your MCA, of your MP, of your senator, and they are different from the functions of a governor. So it creates this mind that when I come and take your 200 bob because I have to get a meal at the end of the day, I'm able to choose that this one, I can't choose this one as my senator because this one keeps on telling me that he'll build me a road. And clearly, a senator does not have the development budget to do the same, or his roles are oversight, or these are the functions of an MP, or this is what goes into the 6 different elective positions. So there's need for political education. I think all the actors should be involved when it comes to this, from IBC to government to civil society to religious institutions and even the media, when it comes to creating narratives that go out to these young people, that encourage them to just not be spectators in this game, but also be involved in the game.
Many would look at this very differently. So let's take Hustler Fund, 50 billion shillings, right? And Hustler Fund, 50 billion shillings at a time when there was no budget allocation. It's just a fund that came out with the president, right? But here we have 50 billion Kenya shillings, and one would say that we suffer greatly from unemployment, especially among the young people. But what do we need? It's jobs. If we have 50 billion shillings, if we took that, invested that into manufacturing in the country that is going down. Say, in the western part of the country where sugarcane farming is huge, but all the factories are on their knees. We invest that into fixing these factories. We go to pan paper. We invest into fixing pan paper. What have we done? We have spurred an economy by encouraging farmers to grow more. These factories will buy from them. We will sell sugar from across the country, and through that, employing thousands and thousands of young people, as well as making it easy for businesses to start, so that at the end of the day, we are fighting poverty by putting in place policies that will make a young entrepreneur fresh from campus who's thinking, I don't want to get employed, I want to get into business. I've made it easier for them. We kick poverty out. But there is the other alternative where many are saying, we'll give them the 6,000, the 20,000 shillings, because not everybody who is unemployed will get it. Is poverty a ticket that is being exploited for politicians to continue being at the space they are, that at the end of the day, it's not thinking on how I'm getting this young person from poverty?
Now, one thing, my brother, hunger does not wait.
I agree.
Okay, so as we are working on establishing and creating or creating those factories in order to create opportunities for young people, the stomach wants to be full. That is why now you're seeing the politics of tokenism carrying the day. Okay, because politicians have to come and fix that mess and make sure that people are eating as we move towards that direction. And it's not that these young people, they are happy when they line up to collect those 100, 200, 300 shillings. Sometimes in a biddy, because you must survive, you must keep on going. So anyway, that said, I love the approach that the government is actually doing, because for the longest time, factories like Mumias and the rest that went down, and they were not be able to, to be managed well by the government. The government thought that it's proper that we go the privatization way, because we have experienced how, the private sector has been able to manage, some of the very, very important government enterprises. So I would say that this issue of tokenism and handouts will continue for some time. That is for sure. It will continue for some time as we move forward and as this country keeps on evolving. Go to the villages. I'm one of those people who normally gets so heartbroken that a member of parliament will come with 1 kg sugar and 1 kg mchele during Christmas and go to a village where there's a student who stayed in that village for almost 2 years by lacking resources to join high school or to join university. You can imagine that kind of scenario, that kind of mockery. But then that said, my appeal to young people out there, more especially the young professionals, the people who've been exposed, the people who've been given opportunities, then business and then lucrative job opportunities, I think it's proper that they step up, come back to their grassroots and, create advocacy and speak to these young people and try to create ways or, better opportunities in order for them to change their way of thinking. Yes.
Yeah, I think, just to add on, I think as Brian was talking about the 50 billion from the Hustler campaign, it reminds me when 2027 campaigns were going on, and someone was saying, 2022. Yeah. Wow, Nikombele already. 2022 campaigns, and someone was saying, it's only Wajakoya who was telling us that where we're going to get the money. All these other guys were telling us 50 billion Hustler campaign, Hustler fund, 6,000 for you monthly, but they're not telling you where they're getting this money. Wajakoya was telling you, we are going to sell hemp. We are going to sell snake oils. This is what we're going to do for us to get this money. But everyone was just telling us about the money, but they're not telling us how we are going to get the money. So I believe, as you said, there's need for advocacy so that we are able to look at the bigger picture of things. Because I think politicians have mastered the art of solving your just now problems, your today problems, your fare back home, but they won't tell you how you're going to now get out of your home tomorrow in the morning. That is none of their business. So there's need for the same as a rallying call for young people to do advocacy, whether it's online, offline, as we head into like 2027.
Do we make the connection when and of course, the two things can be true in the same statement, but do you think we make do young people make the connection or anybody really who receives a handout, connection between this handout, because it plays on your mind, and anybody, I'm yet to be convinced that it doesn't.
Yeah.
That as you're getting this handout, the person who is giving it to you is also expectant. They're expectant that in a position where you will be in a position to make a decision about them, the vote. Because look, at the very least in this room, we can be honest.
Yes.
The politicians are not going out giving out handouts because they like you. Or because you look like their cousin Bertha. It's not the case.
Who are you?
They're giving you this money because there is an expectation that you will activate that later. That you will either go and tell other people, CEO, this man, wonderful, he gave us money, this, that. Should we not vote for him because he's very nice? He has solved our problem, you understand? So when an election comes about, they are expecting that thing they did once or repetitively, they will now cash it in for a vote for them. Isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. The people who are receiving this money at the rally, at the whatever, do they make the connection between this money that we have received, this vote that I am going to cast, and the future of the country in which I'm going to exist in? Is there a connection?
Unfortunately, as I said, I'll go back to what I said, that you can never postpone hunger. Unfortunately, that's the main challenge. So most of these young people are thinking about today. They want to see, how am I going to survive for today? That is the reason why, I serve in the agriculture sector, and we have resources that are meant to support young people to engage themselves in agricultural activities. But when I got into that opportunity, I stayed for 1 and 2 years, and I realized young people are not coming for these resources. What did I do? I decided to change the strategy, and I said probably these young people don't want to engage themselves in the process of production because it may not appear fancy. And I said, now then let's do what we call trade financing. You don't necessarily need to be a farmer. You can trade with agricultural commodities. And I started seeing young people streaming in to come and apply for these resources. So maybe we need to understand how do young people think currently. We might be imagining that the young Kenyans are thinking like our fathers and the grandfathers. They have a different way of doing the thing. These are young people who want to go on TikTok live and sell their products there. They don't want to move around carrying sacks of maize in the streets. So we need to understand that times have changed. Get to understand how are these young people, how are they thinking? Look at this very bad, very, very sad scenario where a politician comes into your village. He gives your mom sugar, he meets your dad, gives him some 200 shillings, and then gives you 200 shillings. Meaning that he has managed your entire home. You are learned, you're exposed, but when you go back home, your dad is speaking the language of this politician, your mom is speaking the language of this politician, and you are left, even if you go against this, your dad and mom, still they are 2 against 1. So this still goes down to our mindset. The issue is the mindset we have towards leadership. We must decide and make a change today and say we must change for the better of ourselves and for the future. And we must take those tough decisions. Yes.
Tabitha, do you make that connection? Handouts, vote, and the future?
Yes and no. I believe it's a work in progress. I believe we've evolved as a people, as a nation, when it comes to how we connect the handouts to what's needed to translate, because I feel like the voter right now, or I think the voter right now is able to know that I can take your money, but I don't have to give you my vote. At least on a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's improved over time. Let's say if we give it in 2007 or maybe 12 or 13, they were quite connected. If you compare to the mindset of the person today, at least maybe they've improved over time.
Sorry.
Not with a big percentage, but
I just want to interject, and then you can come back. Just as an example, there were by-elections in October.
Mm-hmm.
Not even money. There were by-elections in October, and to the west of us, yes, lollipops, lollipop,
sweet,
were given to people, and the result of that election was in favor of the person that was supported by the lollipop givers.
Yeah.
Not even money, lollipops. So that exchange for a vote is very real.
Yeah.
So have people actually walked, in this case, not even money, something in that moment that makes you feel good for a few minutes, and it does telling you, it does something to your head.
Yeah.
That feel-good factor, and that's why I'm telling you, politicians are master crafters, because it is very clear that the psychology to some level has been understood, that if I make somebody feel good in the moment, the likelihood of them remembering me or remembering what I supposedly stand for is higher, because I've activated that feel-good effect. So is it a mindset thing whereby that psychological thing needs to be broken for you to understand, you know what, you're going to go back to your problems when you go, after the sweet has finished, you throw the stick away. Those problems are waiting for you.
Yeah, so this is how I think I'd look at it. I agree that lollipop was used to sway away, but I think there were so many factors that let's say made the person to win, from the political party of the day to the people who were actually on the ground campaigning for it. So yes, it's a mindset thing, because with political parties, I think politicians have mastered the craft of I think connecting emotions with people's emotions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the psychology of connecting to emotions. It's not about, at times, I'll give this example again, just disconnecting it, let's say, from the money a little bit. It's rumored some part of before the death of the former prime minister, people used to say that he was not a good giver of money to campaign, but how did he have like a solid 6 million constituent? It was more of like emotions that come with like political party and just appealing to people on their emotional sect. So that's why I'm saying we are not yet there. Maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 2 or a 3, but we are evolving as a people.
Now, Bran, let me say this.
Dennis.
Oh, Dennis, sorry, Dennis, I'm sorry. Now, Dennis, let me say this. I ran for Member of Parliament in 2017. At that time, I was 24 years old. So I approached some elders in the village to tell them about my vision. And I met with them. I had a very, very good manifesto. So I met these 3 gentlemen, and they asked me the following questions. Do you have a home? I told them I'm in the process of constructing my home. They asked me, do you have a car? I asked them which type of car. I have a Toyota Premium. They said, no, you don't have a big car. All right? And then they asked me, are you married? I told them, yeah, I have a girlfriend. I'm getting married next.
Very soon.
Very, very soon I'm getting married. That communicated, as I grew up, that communicated to me that majority of the leaders we have in office today, they're not necessarily the best leaders, but because of affluence, because they came and they showed that mighty. The mindset of our people on the ground is that in order to be a leader in this country, you must be extremely rich, you must drive the best, the latest model of car, you must have, one of the fanciest homes around. That is why during campaign times, you normally see politicians pulling up with serious machines, SUVs on the ground, to just communicate and create that perception. Yes, create that perception to the people. Majority of these people they are wash people. They're people who've stolen money in Nairobi, gotten money through dubious means, and they go back to the village and they play with the mindset of the people, and they end up getting elected. They come to parliament, they are clueless. They have no ideas. They cannot create a policy to favor the poor back on the ground. So this is my appeal to the people, to my people, that as we grow up, as we keep on evolving, kindly let's focus more on issues. Let's focus more on people, who have created a good name or reputation within the society. Otherwise, the people are the ones to blame.
Duke, we also live in the same country where we know an individual who comes from Mount Kenya who actually campaigned using a donkey, using a bicycle in the entire constituency and managed to win. But one would ask the question...
That's miracle. We normally count them as miracles, yes.
But then again, we look at an electorate who... Hunger is a bad thing. The stomach does not wait, right? We have politicians who've mastered psychology of a voter and taken advantage of that hunger to continue oppressing the Mwananchi, whichever I call them oppressors. I'm sorry, kill me if you want. But here's the thing: does the Mwananchi pause and think of I want Duke to be my member of parliament because he has said he will do ABCD, right? And that is usually what happens. You're voted in because of your promises. But once people get to these offices, they forget that which they stood for. You know what I mean? Which then asks the question, how can Mwananchi be part of the process, including calling out an MP over promises they have not delivered? I don't know if I'm making sense. Because you'll come and give us a good manifesto and we did not go back to look at what are your roles, oversight, you know, all those three things. How then does Mwananchi play the role and ensure that those in leadership understand that Mwananchi has power over them and they can even be recalled, knowing very well that even those policies have not been passed by the very same member of parliament? So how do we make sure people work? Tabitha?
I think it goes back to what happened in June 2024. For people to get out there, we have to do civic education in the simplest ways possible, connecting these big jargons to like real Mwananchi issues, because politicians have mastered it. Mwananchi does not want to hear VAT 14%. What is that? What does that mean actually?
How does that translate to
Yes. So you have to go and tell them this will affect the price of bread and will affect the price of day-to-day commodities for them to be able to connect with the same. So civic education in the simplest way possible is going to help us as we move forward. And I like the president that has been set over time by impeaching the former deputy president. I think it's now a precedent that we've created moving forward, that we know we can also impeach an MP, which I know it's quite a tedious process. Unfortunately, because I know they are the lawmakers, they can't create laws that are not favor them at the end of the day. So for the people who are, I think, the face of who have influence, like people sitting here from the media to you guys in government, I know you guys in government can't do that, Sana, because it will come back to you and bite you. But the people who have good following and who have the best interests, I'd call them digital advocates. Let's simplify this information to Mwananchi in the simplest way possible. For them to know that Senator kazi yake ni oversight. I was seeing a poster recently, I don't want to mention that specific county, but they were saying these are the milestones the Senator has been able to achieve. He's built affordable housing. He's done. I'm like, oh my Lord. So Senate squeezing up on a pesa hivi. So there's need for the people who are at the forefront to simplify this information for us to be able to get a Mwananchi that connects the handout to the ballot paper.
Tabitha, let me correct something. Not everyone who is in government is a bad person. Not everyone in government is a bad person. If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're a bad person, whether in opposition or in government, you are a bad person. But let me go back to what you said. The other day, I met a certain member of parliament who was withdrawn completely from the ground. And I wanted to know how he's doing and where he has left his people. The people are complaining on the ground. And the gentleman told me that he's tired with the people. I asked him, why are you saying you're tired with the people and these are the people who elected you? He said, I spent my money. I spent lots of money to get this position. I bought this power. So nobody has authority to ask me what I'm doing or what I'm not doing. I will still come back, use those resources and buy power. He said, Mwananchi is greedy. Okay? There's no way Mwananchi can pretend. He comes to me, I pay him 20, 30,000 to get to this position. I pay him to be my mobilizer on the ground. And then immediately after I get this position, he wants me to do him or her things, to get him jobs and these other opportunities. This person should choose one. Either I buy you, okay, get into power, or I serve you. So I still go back and say, much as we blame these leaders, you know, many of them come from the ground. These are not people who fell from heaven. They are not angels. They went to the ground. They have grown with the people on the ground. They have understood that the people I'm growing with on the ground sometimes don't care about all the things I'm telling them. They want me to give them money, give them tokens in order to get to power. Yes.
Am I blaming that member of parliament? No.
You can't. How will you blame him?
I'm not.
You cannot.
Because at the end of the day,
yes,
it is the Mwananchi who sold their vote.
Correct.
if I'm gonna give you 20,000 shillings,
yes,
I will give you 20,000 shillings, but never ever come to me again demanding anything, because our transaction has ended when I gave you the 20,000 shillings.
Correct.
And perhaps this is what we need to communicate to Mwananchi, that when you allow yourself to take that token as a bribe to sell your vote, to sell your ID, simply because you want to fill your stomach at that day and not think about the future, perhaps your contract with your member of parliament has ended at that point.
Correct.
You have no right to ever ask me for anything.
Correct. And these politicians are human beings, okay? Each and every day, every politician has a black book like mine here, all right? So I've written tough people. There are those tough-headed people that I know I must spend money in order to get them. Because at the end of the day, what do you want? You have to win. So you'll go and get your 100,000, 200,000, and you pay this money to relax this man, to make him relax. Immediately you get that position. This person comes to you and tells you, I need this job opportunity and the like, and you gave him 200,000. I paid you. It was a transaction. So we must change this thing from being transactional, okay, to transformational kind of leadership. That's the only way we are going to change our country. Yeah.
Is there a chicken and egg situation here? And because what started first? Because, I thought even as we were speaking and we say, okay, well, a leader is required in this country to have a big vehicle and live in a, in a specific place. And then I cast my mind to some of the leaders in what we're calling progressive jurisdictions who take the tube, take the train, ride a bicycle to the office. And it's normal. And that's because that system has been normalized. So which came first, or which should come first? Normalize a system where people, PLO Lumumba is making a suggestion that the business of governance should actually be part-time. Come, do your thing for a few hours every day, and then go and do other things. Come back and continue. Because this thing of having to be in this space all the time then starts to breed the mindset whereby, okay, I need a little bit more to then be able to survive. Governance, citizenship-led leadership is not a wealthy man's paradise. It shouldn't be. But we've twisted it around. So I'm wondering which came first, that you get into government to make some money without us realizing that if the system was working well, we would not see disparities. We would not see far-ended issues, wealth, poverty. We would not see hunger, lack on the other side of satisfaction. We wouldn't see it. So which came first? And how did we get to this place? Because if I think about old Africa, people didn't want to get money from their leaders because we had a leadership system.
Oh, really? No.
And
no.
Before the colonizers came, we had a leadership system. We had governance that has been studied by people and has been the tenets that have created governance systems in the world today. We did. Did we look at leaders in those days for money, for handouts? No. We looked towards people for leadership and not for money. When did that change? And that's what I'm asking. Chicken egg situation. When did the script flip?
This culture was mainly created by our forefathers and the people who founded this country. One of them being the former president Moi. Moi was known that any particular time he visited any village, people could gather and they would give them money, including students.
Was he being generous?
Primary.
I have to ask a question.
Yes,
was he being
there is
generous?
the issue of generosity.
Because he was already president.
Correct.
And he was going to be president for the longest time.
Correct.
And one would argue that the system around it really, whether you voted or not, he was going to continue. So at that point, when you talk about Maziwa Wanyayo and all these other things, was he being generous?
Now, sometimes our people take advantage of generosity. There are people who are naturally generous. There are people who like giving. And they don't give to, attain or get anything in return. But now look at a situation whereby you are generous, you are more endowed, you have more resources, and you are giving. And there's another person who comes who has very good ideas, but he or she doesn't have that money. At the end of the day, Even if this other person, the one who is giving and he has more resources, does not have any ideas, people will tend to go with the person who is giving.
Yeah.
Yeah, many times, that's it's natural that it happens that way. I was surprised the other day. There's a young girl from a village who was stuck at home. She lacked school fees, and we decided to raise this issue on our group of professionals from my region. And I was surprised that there was I'm saying that group who used to be in YK92. I know you, the famous YK92. The way he reasoned in that group, he said, don't bring such issues here. You are shaming us. You are shaming the government. And these are the things. I will tell you, the only way we are going to change these things, and I'm going back to Tabitha, our people need to understand that times have changed. We have very young people, very good young people, who want to make things happen at that particular moment. They don't want to postpone. They don't want to wait. So until we clear this old kind of thinking, where we have people who know that with money they can get anything in life. There are people who are brought up that way, and they still operate that way, not knowing that times have changed. People are more informed. People are young people more particularly. Forget about these other older people. Majority of these young people, they want to see real issues being tackled and lives being changed. That's why you keep on seeing people fighting. This age difference, people keep on fighting each other every day. It's because people are not understanding that things have totally changed. But be rest assured that this is a disease that we must continue to treat and ensure that we see a change at the end of the day. And I love the noise. Yesterday when I heard the president saying that now let all those young people who've been admitted to their schools go back to school, even with their primary school uniforms. It was after the noise. Young people went online making a lot of noise. Where is the CS? Where is this happening? And somehow the president knows how to collect and get this information. And we are seeing
without realizing the absolute mess that's now going to be caused in schools, because on the other side, you can say that if you have gone ahead to ensure that your treasury has sent the capitation to these schools that's necessary.
Money was sent.
Excuse me.
Yeah, money was sent. Last week? Yes. Money was sent. 20 billion. Money was sent to schools.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you know that last year you had a balance of 7,000 shillings to send to schools?
That one I know.
You know?
Yes.
Was all the money that's needed for capitation for the first term sent? It's a yes or no? All the money needed for first term for capitation, was it sent?
Yes. For first term it was.
All the money, the whole amount of money to the tune of 7,442 shillings per student, was it sent?
Now that's
it wasn't. The answer is no. Duke, the answer is no. We know very well that the entire amount. Come on. There's no going around. We've overshot this issue. In fact, I had wished that you would not have brought it up.
I'm the one who brought it up.
It'll take us down a rabbit hole.
I know.
Because the truth of the matter here, it's a yes or no. There's no explaining round. I need 10 shillings to buy this packet.
Yes.
If I don't have 10 shillings, I cannot buy this packet in its entirety. We shouldn't try to romanticize this conversation. Capitation has been set. It is an amount of money that is needed. In fact, it's not even the people. It is you who said this is the amount of capitation we will send. Then people plan around it. Then you decide out of 10 shillings, let me give you 6.
Correct.
It's very clear that the total amount that was needed for first term was not sent in its entirety.
That is okay.
So
Whether now,
it's not okay.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Let me say
because
this.
our time has short.
I'm the one who brought the topic, and I wanted to.
The point is here. So when you have not done the back end, and then in the public, you then children are crying they want to go to school, which is valid. So when you've not done the work in the back end, and then you publicly say, children, go back to school without having done the back end work. Wait, Monday is coming. You tell me what the conversations will be out there where principals are saying, why? How are we going to capitation? Has not come in its entirety. We still owed from last term. What are we supposed to do? That's my point. That's my point.
Okay, now.
You have 30 seconds.
I have 30 seconds to say this. And I like using my story. I got admitted to Kisii High School back in 2007 in Form 1. And I went to school with my former primary school uniform. And I remember my dad took me there, and he left me with his former classmate who was a teacher there. And he went back home and he said he's going to sort you out. Unfortunately, that teacher, because he was doing a lot of admissions, he forgot me. And I stayed at the gate waiting for him. It was getting late, around 5-6 p.m. The watchman was like, "What's up? What's wrong with you? Why have you not been admitted? What are you doing here?" And I said, the man was supposed to assist me. I don't know him. I don't know where he has gone to. My dad left me here. He said, "Okay, no problem. Let me take you to the deputy principal." He took me to the deputy principal. The deputy said, "Too late. We can't get you uniforms. You will come back tomorrow and see if we can fix your issue." I remember that was the worst moment of my life, because I had to go to my dormitory with my former high school, a blue uniform. A blue uniform. Yeah, let me finish very fast. A blue uniform. And I survived for almost 1 week until when I was given my high school uniform. But I will tell you one thing. I had no issues. I was happy that I had gone to my dream school. That is why I'm supporting whatever the president is.
You know what you're supporting? You're supporting the ideology of at leastism, which unfortunately will be the destructive force here.
No,
yes.
Sometimes,
because the truth of the matter,
you may not
have
understand.
Departments, you have ministries
Yes.
that you have given to under the leadership of cabinet secretaries who've been dilly-dallying around this thing for the last 3 weeks. It took the president to come out and say, "Okay, guys, you know what? They don't have money for uniform.
Correct.
Let them go with the old uniform." So what are we talking about? The cyclical effect of government that is not functioning optimally.
I agree.
So when you say that, well, at least I'm in the room.
I agree.
No. And that's what makes us, and in fact, Lesamera is going to kill me now because I've gone past 9 a.m. But that's the problem. That when we are saying, well, at least I have this, you know what, it keeps us deeper and deeper in a hole that we're not going to be able to get out of.
I agree.
We shouldn't be at least, we should be optimum.
Even as we talk about going into school with a different uniform, that right there indicates and signals inequality that does exist in our education system today.
And this is the thing.
No. But we must fix it.
Yes.
It must be fixed.
It must be fixed.
I'm not going to give you another
must
now.
be raised and they must be fixed.
I think for me, just to finish up on what you're saying, that some of this tokenism started from President Moi. And you'll agree that in the regimes where we've had people ascend to power through generosity, for lack of a better word, governments have failed. Our economies have been on their knees during such governments because we appoint politicians to be in these cabinet positions. This is why we are talking about it takes the president to come and deal on education matters. Where is the CS for education? There are children in a school called Kichawir in Kericho who are studying under a tree in 2026. A school in Bungoma where they don't have even a headmaster. So how is that primary school operating with these capitations that you've sent? You're sending no to who? To a school that doesn't have a headmaster. Who is going to be in charge? Who is going to be accountable for this?
Leadership. You'll ask yourself a question: where is Ndidi Nyoro doing wonderful work at Kiheru?
Exactly.
And there's a constituency in Mandera where students are studying under a tree. Leadership.
Yeah, and they'd argue that Ndidi Nyoro was the budget chair, and you'll ask, Atandi is the current budget chair. What are we seeing in Alego?
Correct.
Nothing.
Indeed.
So leadership.
Duke Tabitha, thank you so much for being here this morning. Lesamera will eat us alive because we've gone past the hour, but these are the conversations that we must have. Correct. And thank you for being here with us to be able to do that. Good morning at 5 minutes past 9.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira, and I'm not going to kill you, Ndu, for extending the interview. Katiba Institute has welcomed the deletion of data unlawfully collected from Kenyans by WorldCoin after the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner confirmed the deletion. In a statement, Katiba Institute said the High Court ruling in May 2025, which ordered WorldCoin's parent company Tools for Humanity to delete the data, reaffirmed that constitutional rights to privacy, dignity, and data protection are non-negotiable. In 2023, WorldCoin offered Kenyans 25 crypto tokens worth about 8,200 shillings at the time in exchange for scanning their iris and facial recognition data. The company said its activities in Kenya were part of a pilot project aimed at developing digital IDs following similar rollouts in Indonesia, Chile, Sudan, and France in 2021. 90% of learners who sat for the inaugural KJSEA have joined grade 10, according to Basic Education PS Julius Bitok. Speaking at Manyonje High School in Maleva constituency, Kakamega County, Bitok urged national government administrative officers to ensure that no child remains at home because of lack of school fees or uniform.
We have had a successful transition of students from junior school to senior school. Right now, we have been able to transition 90% of the students from junior school to senior school. And students have reported all over the country. And we are really impressed. We still have 10% whom we are working very closely with GAO. Lazima wanafunzi wote waende shule 100%, na hakuna mwalimu headmaster ambaye ataruhusiwa anyime mwanafunzi kuingia kwa shule sababu ya pesa. Tumeambia chiefs, assistant chiefs, tukishirikiana na Ministry of Interior kwamba tutahakikisha kwamba kila mwanafunzi anapelekwa kwa shule.
In Central Kenya, Regional Commissioner Joshua Nkanatha says 84% of the learners have joined grade 10, and parents who continue to hold children at home will be arrested.
Ukisikia shule mahali watoto wanaambiwa walipe 500. Sasa hatuwezi kusema kuna mzazi amekosa 500 shwari ya kupeleka mtoto nini shule. Ni uzembe tu na kutojali, lakini wazazi kama hao nao tunasema hata nyinyi tukiwapata mko shindani, mko kwa shida. Ni haki ya mtoto asome. Na kama una uwezo kabisa si useme serikali iko. Serikali ya county iko, serikali ya national iko, hata kuna CDF wanapeana nini msaada, watasaidiwa. Bora tu useme.
The government has lifted the dusk to dawn curfew that has been in place since early December last year in Transmara South and West sub-counties in Narok County. For the last month, the residents of some parts of the two sub-counties could not walk in or out of the area from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. after the government imposed movement restrictions to curb the skirmishes that had rocked the area. Transmara South Police Commander Enrico Telewa told the residents the security agencies remain on high alert.
Sahi nimeamua tu kunja jicho moja ili watu waendelee na shughuli za jioni hadi saa 5 usiku. Na msione kama tumeamua play low kwamba hakuna security, patrols ziko, officers wako kwa ground mpaka asubuhi. Anybody misbehaving beyond 11 atachukuliwa hatua na ataajibika kisheria.
Telewa later told journalists that calm has returned to the region following recent peace meetings attended by political leaders and locals from warring communities.
Usalama imerudi, watu wasiwe na wasiwasi, tumeweka usalama na huo mkutano tuliweka juzi ya communities mbili, upande zote mbili ya Masai na Wakipsigis. Na vile waliongea ilikuwa inatoka kwa roho zao. Mimi najua kila upande ilikuwa inataka amani sababu hakuna kitu walifaitika nacho wakati watu walikuwa wanatakikana.
TikTok has finalized a deal to allow its American business to continue by creating a new U.S. entity separate from its global operations, which are run out of China. Under the deal, TikTok's success-defining algorithm will be retrained on U.S. user data only, which will be protected to meet American regulations. The app was due to be banned in January 2025 if its Chinese owner ByteDance failed to spin off its American operations to U.S. investors, but President Donald Trump repeatedly postponed enforcement. Lawmakers at the time expressed fears that the Chinese government could force ByteDance to hand over data of U.S. users of the app. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. .4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
As schools reopen across the country, the Anti-Counterfeit Authority has issued a back-to-school warning to parents, schools and retailers over the circulation of counterfeit scientific calculators. The counterfeit calculators can give inaccurate results or fail unexpectedly, putting learners at risk. Casio now offer QR code verification to help consumers confirm genuine products. Protect learners. Buy genuine.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who are initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't, let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find a tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around.
Yeah,
Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 13 minutes after 9 o'clock, and yes, Mr. Lesemira Asante Sana, of course, bringing us those updates as we continue. Even when the spillover from a hot conversation goes beyond the time, it's all part of it, and thank you for doing that for us. As we get into the conversation, into the final hour of the final Situation Room for this week. It's many finals that we're doing, but okay. Either way, we're going to be looking back into healthcare, and we're looking at, unfortunately, still where we still have an impasse between those who essentially are making the decisions and making the budgets, and those who are critical in this ecosystem when it comes to the deliverance of proper healthcare. And joining us this morning to have that conversation is Peterson Bashira, who is at the top of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and he's here with us this morning. Good morning, Peterson.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Quite well.
Yeah?
Myself.
Good.
But as clinical officers, not so well.
I know. Yeah. It's not looking pretty.
Yeah.
We'll go into the details of some of that, and just to understand, okay, we should have at the very least been able to come out of this, but just not yet. And we'll talk about those details. Yeah. But before we do that, Dennis has been taking us to Angola.
The seventh largest country in the continent. Twice the size of France, rich in gold, diamond, and oil. They also have baobab, which continues to determine how the country looks like, especially when you're flying into Angola. But when you visit Angola, be sure where you're stepping on. Why? Because after this civil war in the country, there's a lot of live landmine that was left behind. The country's trying to detonate everything to make sure that it's safe for the people. So next time you visit, just be sure. Hedoka kwa hoteli, mwende kwa beach. But let's go to the proverb, right? To walk alone is almost not to walk. To sing alone is almost to murmur. What do they mean?
I think what that means to me is, of course, when you come together, as when you coalesce your efforts, your vision, your focus, you achieve more. And I think it resonates very well with me. Because that is basically what union is. Union is very many feeble voices coming together to generate one very strong voice that cannot be ignored.
Indeed.
Well said. Yeah.
At the very bottom of it, for sure.
Yeah.
And coming together to push for a particular agenda. in the last couple of weeks, we know that clinical officers have been on strike. We know that there is support that has come from the wider medical fraternity. And we know that other medical workers are also up in arms over so many things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't build a good picture for the state of healthcare in the country if the very people who are the ones who then transfer this care to Kenya's sick, then it doesn't look too good. We've also heard interesting words flying around that you people are just being stubborn. You don't want to listen to what government is telling you. We've told you we don't have the money right now to then be able to deal with some of these things, but you've decided to put the health of many Kenyans at risk by not going to work. How do you feel about that?
Thank you, Ndu. And thank you, Aseto. And thanks for what you do. You know, as I was coming here, I was really enjoying that other show that you're having. I almost gave up my mind so that I could continue listening to that one. But of course, thanks for having me here. And maybe before even I answer that, you know, it was very interesting from those guys. And I say that because that is how they like referring to people. Those guys.
Those guys.
And, you know, I was thinking, 5 billion you're giving to individuals. We were told 25,000. And then you look at, on the other side, you look at Makueni County during Kivutha Kibwana's time. There are some factories that were built there. And I googled just now. I don't know if my figures are correct, but I saw that one costed around 250 million, another one around 230 million. And I was just doing my maths. How many factories would we build with 5 billion? 20. If it was to cost 250 million. And I was wondering, from where I come from in Maunaro, Kunjoro, we are horticultural farmers and we have a lot of cattle and we produce a lot of milk. What if we built one canning factory for the horticulture and another one for the milk, a milk processing plant? How many youths would we employ there? Vis-a-vis, if we were to give them 25,000, what are they going to do with it? And which one would give better? But anyway.
That's interesting that you say that. Okay.
Because if you employ them, you could give them that 25 or 50,000.
And you're selling the product.
month.
Yes.
And you're selling the product.
Yes.
Isn't it?
And you're empowering farmers. There is a whole chain of transporters. Then once you have a finished product, you have retailers. It's a whole ecosystem that you're building. It is going to multiply whatever you have put in there. And with time, you're going to employ so many. But I don't want to digress outside the topic.
I do want you to. I do want you to digress.
Yes.
Because it is connected.
Yes.
We don't tend to imagine how connected it is.
Yes.
But so I need you to say that again, just so that we can be very clear.
Yes.
Because we're talking about the state of healthcare. The reason why we find ourselves in this position, Peterson, is largely government is saying not because they don't feel like clinical officers should have more money. They don't. It's not that they don't feel like you're doing your job. What's the one reason that you've been given as to why you cannot meet the demands? They don't have enough money. True, false?
That is true.
That's the case, right? We don't have enough money.
Yes.
And we know that one of the surefire ways of a government to then be able to have money to operate is two. It's taxes or it's then manufacturing industry, so that you're not operating at profit.
Yes.
That's why I need you to say what you said again. We're talking about a fund, 50 billion, 50, what did you say?
5 billion.
5 billion shillings, which is the money that is being given out essentially for the
empowerment.
Nyota. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Say it again.
And I want to connect to health.
Yes.
Because that is where I was actually coming.
Yeah.
If you give me 25,000 and let's say I'm brilliant, I may start a small business. I can start a kiosk and start selling a few things. Probably the tax I'll pay is VAT and maybe a business license that I'll be paying per year. But on the other side, if we could take this money and build the factories, the tax net expands. We have farmers who are now encouraging and are producing more milk because they have a market for it. You have finished product from this factory that we are selling. We are getting the value-added tax. We have transporters who are transporting, they're renewing licenses, they're paying for insurance, they're buying fuel, they're paying tax. You have retailers on the other side. And all these people, what you are doing, you're empowering them so that now they no longer be indigent. They will not have to be paid for social health authority, for the shift. Now they'll be in that bracket where you can now take their 2.75%. We can put it now in SHA, and we will not have to start saying that some facilities are rogue, wengine ni wezi, so that we don't pay them because we don't have enough money. We will start now paying back facilities and they'll be able to work. So it's actually connected to health, because when you empower people, you empower them and they can be able to procure that health insurance. And of course, that becomes better for the country because now they can be able to get better health services. They will not stay at home. They will work. They will develop the economy.
Let me make it even sweeter.
Yeah.
Let me make it even sweeter, just to top up on that. When you make a good business environment and make it easier for entrepreneurs to start their businesses, when you make it easier for investors to come in, what you're doing is investors will set up their businesses, employment opportunities will get there, the 2.75% that you're talking about will be paid to the government, the entrepreneurs who are there employing 1, 2, 3 people will as well pay taxes that will end up getting into the kitty, and with that the fund that we're talking about will grow and the healthcare system in the country will stand. But even as we talk about that, it's just a proposition. You know, if they listen to us, we've given you a way out. We are not asking to be paid. It is just information donated. But let's talk about where we find ourselves with the healthcare system where clinical workers are on the street. This is not a CBA 2025. It is something that dates back years back, right? And one asks the question, what's the difficulty in just doing it right? One would say it is because we are focused on how we will get back to power and not focused on how we will treat the sick and the most vulnerable in the society. I don't know.
Very true. And there are some very difficult questions we need to ask ourselves as a country. In 2010, we gave ourselves a constitution. In that constitution and Article 43, we gave ourselves a very good aspiration that each and every one of us has a fundamental right that cannot be limited to access the highest attainable standards of health. But even as we did that, we then brought in a paradigm shift where we devolved our healthcare and changed the management from centrally managed to being managed under counties. We're having 48 centers of management of health. It has been 15 years. Have we done an audit? I think we need to do an audit. We need to ask ourselves questions. And whenever we ask this question, the governors and the other people in the devolution space, they think that we are asking for health to be brought back. That is not what we are saying. We must be very clear. What we are saying is, any system, whenever you change any system, you must have an audit. At least 3 to 5 years, you must have an audit. But now it has been 15 years and we have not had an audit. So we need to sit down and ask ourselves, is it working with the human resource? Is it working with essential supplies? We look at the 6 components that make a good health system and ask ourselves, is it working or not? If it's not working, then we also ask ourselves, what do we need to do? Can we be able to rectify whatever is not working within this kind of management system? Or do we then need to rethink how we are managing health and take it back? And this is what we try to propose when we are saying, let's have a central management of the human resource. Can we be able to look at how, instead of sending money to the counties and facilities, how we can be able to instead, that money goes direct to KEMSA, and KEMSA supplies those hospitals and ensures that it is always supplied, because the workers are paid by the government, whichever, whether national or the county. The infrastructure is built by the county or the national government in terms of level 6. So if instead of taking this money back to these facilities, we would just send equipments and essential supplies so that it's not a business. It is not a business arrangement. You see many patients, we give you more money and then you decide what to do with it. This public is not private. We are not giving you money to develop yourself. We want patients to get the services so that it doesn't matter which facility produces more money. What matters is, can we get enough to supply everywhere so that even that facility that may not be generating a lot using SHA can then get enough medicines and people will not have to go there and lack services. The other day, we went across Nairobi and we ended up at Mama Lucy. We were stopped by the patients at the gates, and I think your colleagues were there, and they actually recorded some of it. And they were giving us their frustrations. We had gone there to check how it's going, and because Nairobi is on strike and all the health workers are there. But it ended up being the common mwananchi giving us their frustration with health, where actually ourselves we are also very frustrated, and we were there to so that we can try and amplify. And so there is something that is not working. And what is not working is leadership and governance, because anything rises or falls on leadership. It is the leadership that must then ensure that they provide the budget that is needed. But now, coming to answer your question, where we stand today, and I continue saying this, Ministry of Health cannot explain why we are on strike, because the approvals are there. It is only that the CS and the PS have refused to still append a signature.
Which PS?
That is, it's supposed to be CS Duale, signed by CS Duale and the two PSs.
Both PSs?
Both PSs.
Okay.
At the level of the Council of Governors, also, the approvals were given. But at least we had a meeting yesterday. I must acknowledge that. And the meetings are ongoing. We hope we'll be able to get a solution. But we have really subjected Kenyans to pain and disruption for practically no reason other than we have people in office who do not want to work.
I don't understand. Whatever has been requested by the union,
yes,
essentially has been approved by the ministry.
So, at first, the ministry had given us a risk allowance of 15,000.
Okay.
Then they said later
across
the county government said no, we cannot afford this.
Okay.
So we have actually made a lot of compromises, and after making the compromises, then we agreed and SRC gave the approval. The approval for the ministry came in August. And we concluded the CBA for the ministry in August, and even initialized that now we have concluded this is the final document. We are just waiting for signatures. August of 2025. Since then, it has not been signed. On the side of the county government, the final approval came on 22nd day of December. And it was done on 20th, about 3 days before we went on strike. Instead of them calling us to the table, because that was the only thing that was pending on the CBA, and we would have signed and concluded this matter, they rushed to court on that 23rd when we were to go on strike, and thank God the court did not hear them. They were not given the orders, and the case was not certified urgent. And do you know why? Because the same court they were running to had directed them to have concluded those issues by October of 2024. And they didn't. And now they were running back to tell them, can you please force these guys back to work so that we can continue exploiting them? And I really must thank the courts because they didn't allow them to do that. So that's why I'm saying we really need a very difficult conversation about health, how we fund it, how we govern it, whether we are doing it right, because health must be a concern of every Kenyan. Many of us, you are just one sick relative away from poverty. And I know that better because I have been there. I know that better.
You see, if you look at the health system, since devolution, every other time there is, I remember the 2017 CBA that was there. It has been pushed. Implementation is a problem. You come forward, another CBA is signed to amend the 2017 CBA. Still a problem in implementing it. Now we are at a position where the court has spoken and said, guys, do this. We have agreed on everything, but just appending a signature on what has been agreed upon is a problem. Many say, watu vichongumu hamtaki kusaidia wananchi. But here's a question where wananchi themselves are also saying, Agai, even with health workers here, we are unable to get the services we need because hakuna madawa, there is no equipment and everything else. In total sum, you look at the health system, like you say, there is need to relook on how we are managing healthcare in the system. There are many who say we need a health commission that will help us manage everything all together. Is that the direction we should take? Is there goodwill in finally dealing with the problems in the health system once and for all? And if someone somewhere sees this as not a priority, then what is our priority?
Yeah, and I think it goes even beyond the conversation about the Health Service Commission, because let me lay the ground.
Yes.
You have a health sector that has an aspiration in the Constitution, the highest attainable. Do you know what that means? It means that every year we should see us improving on our services towards somewhere. And Vision 2030 documents it very well. I wish people can read Vision 2030 on health. Then you come to the other side and you find that the PFM Act tells you that 35% is your ceiling on recurrent budget. And when you go to the counties, because the 35% is regarding to the amount of money you have, the budget you have under the county. So most of them will have exited. On the other side, you go to the documents of the Ministry of Health, and you find a very good study that was done by CS Nakumicha about preparedness for UHC. It was very good, by the way. And it brought out the real scenario that we have a dire shortage that cannot even guarantee accessibility to health to Kenyans to set off UHC, and recommends that, like in the case of clinical officers, we should employ almost 18,000 more, because we are supposed to be 24,000.
And you're currently only 6. Okay.
You're currently only 6,000. Okay. So that is the ministry. This is the PFM Act. On the other side, there is the budget under the county. So even if you get some small amount of money you want to employ, then on the other side, the controller of budget is saying, hey, PFM Act, you have already exceeded 35. Then you find that whenever we are having a conversation, like now, one of the issues that has been in dispute has been payment of statutory deduction, has been the issue of career guideline. So whenever there is something to improve on the pay slip of a health worker, not only a health worker, let me just say workers under the county, it becomes a problem because they are saying we don't have money, PFM Act on the other side. So we live in the same country, but we have very conflicting laws and policies. This one wants more health workers. This one says, no, you have exceeded your ceiling for recurrent. The other one says, but patients are dying in the hospitals because we don't have enough health workers. So when we are calling for audit, we are also saying, can we look at the entire environment? Do we need to separate health workers from the recurrent budget into development budget? Is health a recurrent expenditure, or is health a contributor, a central pillar of socioeconomic development, so that we stop looking at it as recurrent? We need to look at that, and which laws then do we need to look at so that we can tweak? And that is where the conversation for Health Service Commission came from. It was not purely about being under the counties. It was also, how can we then go above this PFM Act so that we can have a body that is not subject. When they are given the money, the entire amount is for hiring, and so the recurrent maybe will be the administrative fees. And If then you separate that, we were saying that probably now the counties will have enough space and money to be able to stock drugs, to be able to provide essential supplies, to be able to provide equipment. So that is where the conversation is. And what we have been saying, if we can sit on a round table and we are told that, okay, we get the principle, we get the objective. The Health Service Commission is not the solution.
Yeah.
This other thing is the solution that will be able to sort this. We are very open to that conversation. But what we are trying to say is that something is wrong. We need to find out why it's wrong. And we need to come up with a solution. As we sit here, we have around 94 health workers, laboratory officers and clinical officers. They were employed in this country around 2009 when HIV was really ravaging our people. Realizing that TB was the opportunistic disease that was killing Kenyans who had HIV, they were employed specifically to deal with TB, and especially within HIV. Then, when Global Fund employed them, they entered into an agreement with the Treasury that we are providing this money for this duration. The moment we are withdrawing, then you will provide this money to absorb these people so that they can continue working for Kenyans. Time comes, a Global Fund exits, Treasury does not provide the money, the ministry says, okay, we will only employ the ones who are at the national government level, though they are the ones who had given them contracts. They leave the others who are working under the county facilities, and for 20 months they have not been paid. 20 months. You go to the ministry, they tell you the problem is the county. But we tell them, but the county has never given them a contract. You are the one who gave them a contract. You go to the counties and they tell you, hey, these people are not ours. They have never been transitioned. How is it our responsibility? So that is one of the outstanding issues, and that is why you are unable to agree, especially at the Council of Governors, together with UHC. Because you are saying, we cannot have officers where they are not owned by the ministry, they are not owned by the county governments, yet they are serving Kenyans and they are suffering. But there are people in office who actually know this.
But their names are their names not on a list somewhere, on a payroll somewhere, these individuals?
Their contracts are with the national government. The government knows them.
So I'm wondering, how do you now say you don't know who they are?
Yes.
They say that it is the county governments. And that is why we have said, on the issue of the UHC and the Global Fund, because essentially we are now agreeing on the issue of risk allowance. But on the issue of the UHC and Global Fund, we have said we must have a sitting where the Ministry of Health, the Treasury, and the Council of Governors are on the table, so that we agree who takes responsibility for these arrears, who takes responsibility for this gratuity, and who takes responsibility for now giving permanent and pensionable terms to ensure that these people continue serving. The other thing that we are fighting for, and it's good that Kenyans understand, and I have said this multiple times, and I'll continue saying, I know many a times when I say it, people think that I'm not being sensitive. But many Kenyans, and it's good we talk about the issue of these, what do we call them, quacks.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the case of Kawangware, the one who extracted a tooth and somebody ended up dying.
Yes.
And maybe even before I make my point, I need to advise Kenyans that anything to do with your mouth and your throat is a very dangerous scenario. It goes directly to your heart. There is a condition called rheumatic fever, and usually later complicates into rheumatic heart disease. Talk to cardiologist. And understand how many Kenyans are suffering. They have to go through open heart surgeries just because a pharyngitis, a sore throat was missed when they were young. Just because a tooth was extracted and they were not in an antiseptic environment or a sterile environment, and they got an infection that then went to heart, injured their valves, and by the time they are getting to their 30s, for ladies, the time they are getting pregnant, that is when they realize they have a cardiac disease. Some of them die. Some of them spend at least 6 or more months in hospitals because once you're pregnant, when you have the rheumatic heart disease affecting the valves, you have to stay in that hospital until you deliver. And some do not even get to that point, are not that successful. So what I'm trying to say is that there are things that we take very simply, but the consequences that you get later are very dire. Sometimes they cost life. So why is it that we are having the quacks in the system? We have a system where we have health workers who have been trained. We have a government that is not deploying them, employing them and deploying them to the facilities. So you have, I saw another story of a clinic officer who has been out. I have seen many doctors, some have even sold to me clothes online. Doctors, somebody went to school for 6 years. A clinic officer went and did their BSc for 5 years. A nurse went to school for 4 years. Then they come out and they're selling clothes out here to make a living. Yet there is a patient dying in hospital because they cannot get that service. Then you have a government in between that is supposed to employ these people, and that in 2013 went to Brazil and a WHO conference on human resources, and the CS was representing the country, signed a commitment that we as a country, we appreciate that we have shortage of health workers, and the solution to this is that each and every year we'll be budgeting and employing 12,000 health workers. But that has not been done. So when you have that unmet need, when you have that gap, that is where the quacks come in. And the quacks will be there for as long as we do not have enough health workers.
You know, Peterson, when you talk about healthcare, the other day we were having a discussion here by member union KMPDU, and we're being told if the government today decided to employ all the health workers that are there, that are unemployed, there would still not be enough to serve Kenyans because they are few in number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with that just in mind, and you look at how Kenyans remain being exposed, healthcare, education, and everything else that is, one would say, is basic but very critical for any nation, should be top of the agenda, should be the biggest vote head, whichever you want to look at it. But we do not want to do that. And Kenyans continue to die. Services still are not being delivered. Does anyone can do?
There was something we talked about earlier this morning, and maybe I can connect to that answer. Is that I thought to myself, you know what? First of all, the big thing about UHC is hedged on money. The money that comes in to allow all of these things to be done. For workers to be paid, for healthcare to be delivered. And I said it's a no-brainer, because here we are saying that there's not enough money to go around and that we don't have enough in terms of contributions. And I said, well, the problem from the contribution is that people don't have that bulk amount of money at once. And that we have been able in the past, and not just in Kenya, around countries, and my God, that we've been able in the past to whittle things down to then be able to cater to a group of people who are not able to buy the bulk. So we have 10 shillings oil, we have 10 shillings soap, you have 20 shillings this. You can mimic the same even for your healthcare. That if I don't have 6,000 shillings at once, I have 20 bob a day. You have a 104 billion shilling system. You can't tell me that the 104 billion shilling system cannot then accommodate a part whereby you say 10 to 20 million Kenyans can actually pay a little bit every day, and it chalks up to a full amount. And then Dennis said, well, you know, you've been able to figure it out here in 3 minutes. The likelihood that the guys there have figured that out as well, but you don't want it to work. And that's the thing. You don't want it to work.
That's like
because
another point.
If it worked, I mean, if you did, it would be working. Because there's so many solutions. And that is one where you have a bulk amount. And Yang Nyong'o talked about it many years ago. You widen the tax base, have everybody else paying a little bit, but you widen the tax base so that what you do, you bring more people into the spectrum, and at the same time you have more money that's expendable. So is it possible that there is something that thrives in chaos. This chaos. Okoh is on strike today. KMPD is on strike tomorrow. Teachers are on strike the other day. I don't know. We can't pay SHA. People can't. I mean, there's somebody that's thriving in this chaos.
There is, isn't it?
So the possibility that you can see a solution, I mean, it's right there. We don't embrace the situation, or we don't embrace the solution because we don't want the thing to work.
Yeah. And if you really want to know who is benefiting, it's really easy.
Yeah.
Look at who benefits from strikes.
Private
the private sector. Then the other question that we must ask ourselves:
who owns them?
Very good. Who owns these hospitals? And then we must have the difficult question: if you are a public officer, and especially in positions of influence, should you really own hospitals? Should you be doing
You should be
hospital
nowhere near
business?
them. Yeah. Nowhere near
when
them.
you're the one who is supposed to manage the public health care. There is something, and I hope when you see the PS, our PS, who is a former comrade of mine, C.S. Oluga, there is something I would like to remind him. When he was on the other side, he kept on saying that our problem is that there are people who do not want the public health system to work. And maybe now that he's in a position of influence, he can be able to answer on how he thinks that can be remedied. But for me, what I would say that we would do as Kenyans, we should force MPs to enact a law that if you're a public officer, your insurance can only take you to a public facility.
Thank you.
We all go there and
queue together.
We queue together with the patients.
We miss medicine together.
Yes, that no government insurance should pay for private facilities for public officers, so that then the public officers, especially who are concerned with health, can ensure that they make the health work. There is nothing that depresses a health worker than supervising death. Do you know what supervising death is? You are seeing a patient. You know that if I had 1, 2, 3, this patient would survive. But then you know that I don't have this. By the time they get to the other side, they will not make it. So you're basically torn in between. Do I refer them and they die on the way, or do they die here?
You're kidding.
It happens every time. And that is why you see, I saw somebody on social media and saying that medics are drunkards. And I also had a conversation in one of the stations, and they were saying, what did you want to be? And one was saying, I wanted to be a doctor. And the other one told that person that, ungekuwa mlevi. You'd have been... What these people are trying to say is that the community has already observed something, that health workers are abusing substance. But then we must go to the next level and ask ourselves, why is it the health workers? Why not the drivers? Why not the engineers? Why is it the health workers? And it's because of the stress and the depression that comes from this. Because even though you work in that environment that is very stressful and sometimes frustrating, you also do not have counseling and psychology, or those who care for the carers, that they can also be able to debrief and avoid these scenarios.
Peterson, I think together with them, let's just crack the numbers, right? So we have approximately 25 million people who are registered in SHA, right?
Is that the correct number?
Let's use that.
The last one was 28.
Okay.
Let's use 20. Let's use 25 because I've
Yes.
done math on that, right?
Yes.
And around 6 million are paying.
Is it really?
Let's use that.
Okay. I think
So
it's
you look
3
point something. So you have the
3.4.
balance, right?
Yes.
You have the balance of individuals who are not paying because it is expensive, 6,000 shillings. Assuming everyone was paying 20 shillings a day, I've just used a number here, 22.
Yeah.
By the end of the month, you'll be having around 9 point something billion. You multiply that times 30, you have 115 billion in 1 month, assuming everyone was paying 20 shillings a day. We're talking about 30 days, you have 115 billion shillings, close to the number that you used to procure the system that is there. If we have 115 billion shillings every month. That is minus those who are paying 2.75%, minus those.
Yeah.
If you use all these chunk and put it together in a healthcare system, one would say healthcare workers would be paid, hospitals would be paid, medicine would be bought, equipment would be there, and that would be having a thriving healthcare system that serves each and every single mwananchi. Now, we go back to the conversation that when doctors are on strike, the private facilities do benefit. The owners rake in a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
While we have citizens who've gone into these public health facilities because doctors are not working, what would someone do? I will walk into the next pharmacy here or a next hospital in my locale that can help me get relief from the pain that I'm going through. And what do we do with that? Accessing illegal services that people end up dying every day. We do not make that connection. And these things that you talk about, people not appending their signatures, national government, county governments not agreeing despite agreeing with World Bank or the funds that are there, it is because there is no political goodwill to finally sort out our issues. That today, if a member of parliament was going to Kenyatta National Hospital, queuing with Aseto on the queue, facilities would work.
Yeah.
And
as you're saying, we really questioned the means testing instrument because it's the main problem here. And the truth of the matter is that SHA has already collapsed.
Peterson. See, it's January. Be nice.
SHA has already collapsed. The reason as to why I say this, I don't want to come here and falsify things just to show that things are rosy. Whatever SHA is collecting and whatever SHA is supposed to pay every month, in every month, if you put the claims on this side and the collections on this side, there is a deficit going up to around 4 billion per month. That is, we have claims that are 4 billion more than what we are collecting per month. So which is this miracle that is going to come and ensure that we are able to pay our claims?
It's not even a miracle. Yeah. And that's the problem, Peterson, we look at things as though they're insurmountable challenges. And because nobody's actually ever sat down and said, you know what? And that's why we say maybe they have. That nobody sat down and said, you know what? This thing is the problem. Here is the solution.
Combine.
Marry them.
No, our problem is politics.
4 billion shillings, and we've already told you how you can get 100 billion in a month. Yes. In a month, by collecting the minimal amount from people. And because of the fact that this communication thing seems to be so difficult, you don't want to tell people what you're doing, so you can't even tell people what to do. You don't want to tell them what you're already doing, so it becomes impossible for you to come later and tell them what to do. And I keep going back to that example of Bwana Njoroge when he was at the helm of the central bank. When Kenya was changing its currency, the man was seen every day. For the 3-month period, nobody could say they didn't know that Kenya was changing its currency because he was communicating to people. We have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, Kenyans, what we want you to do, bring your old money. Don't stay with this old money in the house because after this date, we cannot use it anymore. Anybody who came out later and said, November, I've not changed my money. Government didn't even say anything. It was Kenyans now who would tell that person, where were you?
Where were you?
They ask that question. Because they rallied around a common idea. You cannot tell me that the 3.7 million people who are currently contributing to SHA, out of the 55 million people in Kenya, don't even take the remaining. 20 million of them, get them to give you 20 shillings a day. That 4 billion shillings you're looking for, you will make it times 20.
Very true.
What are we talking about? It is simple. And then engage a communication strategy so that you can have this roll around the country. You mean to tell me if you went everywhere, the people that you have running around during these rallies anyway, rather than hire goons, hire those guys to go and tell people that you can give us your 20 shillings, ma'am, give us your 20 shillings, mzee, so that we can put it somewhere for you. And in a year, you're up to date.
Precisely.
You've paid, and if you have to go to hospital, you don't have to do a harambe. You don't have to sell your cow or your chicken.
Yeah.
This is what we are talking about.
It is not that they don't know.
Aye.
When they were doing this, we actually told them that this means testing is only going to deny you these funds you're looking for. And we actually suggested that instead of the means testing, you said the lowest will be 300, yes.
Yeah.
Allow the former ones to be deducted the 2.75, it's okay. But can you let everybody else just pay 300? History means testing.
Even
Nobody
that-
understands.
Yes, even that, forget
Yes.
the science.
Yes.
Even that, just say, you know what? The amount is 300 shillings.
Yes.
Even with that 300 shillings, you have 5 times the amount of money that you need to cover the deficit and deliver healthcare.
Very true.
Come on.
Yeah.
But do you know why they're not doing that? Politics. If we say that this thing is not working, then politically, they'll say that we started a system that is not working. So we really need to be genuine with Kenyans. And I know they don't like me because I say these things openly. But I think as a people, we must get to a point when we see Kenyans coming out, even when the health workers are not on strike, and saying that we are demonstrating because our hospitals are not working, because SHA is not working, and our people are dying, our people are becoming poor because they are selling their parcels of land. When I see that, when that time comes for me, I'll be very happy. And I know that our people have really been enlightened on issues, governance and health.
Yeah, it's like we shook hands with problems, man. Because remember the lady who went to the cabinet secretary's office that time and raised the issues on the wait time. And what happened after that? She was arrested and she was taken all over the place simply because she spoke up. I mean, I personally think Kenyans should take it into their own arms. Like, we will keep on bashing the healthcare workers out there, but until Kenyans as well join this bandwagon and speak up, nothing much will happen.
Peterson, what does it look like? I mean, in the coming days, we can't have clinical officers out of work much longer because obviously there's sustenance that's required, but at the same time, there's also healthcare that's required for Kenyans. Does it look like the needle is moving?
Well, to some extent under the COG, now we are talking, and it seems like we are heading somewhere, but this time round, we have said on 2 occasions, we have had agreements they have not implemented. So right now, we are looking for implementation. The CBA must be signed. We want the UHC. We must have a very clear way forward to ensure that they get their PNP. We must get the Global Fund people paid their arrears and then converted to PNP. And for Nairobi, I want to ask my Governor Sakaja. I voted for him. And I sat with him before he became the governor. We campaigned for him because we sat and discussed the vision for health. I want to ask him, because I remember then he had a very good vision. And now health workers are outside and Kenyans are suffering in Nairobi. Please act.
And those 2 words will end it for today.
Yeah.
Please act.
Please act.
It's been a heavy one. It's been a heavy week. But these conversations, as much as sometimes they seem like they bear heavily on you, we need to have them. And that's why the Situation Room exists, for this, for country, and for making things happen. Thank you for being here with us. Peterson Washira is at the head of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Thank you for being here, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you for each and every one of you that made the Situation Room this week, for us to have these conversations one to the other. Don't forget what we've talked about, getting into the weekend and seeing what happens. We'll come back and we'll talk again Monday morning, God willing. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll talk again on Monday. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The National Police Service says 2 illegal firearms and 10 rounds of ammunition were voluntarily surrendered on Thursday at Tot Police Station as part of the ongoing peaceful disarmament exercise in the Kerio Valley. In a statement, the NPS noted that the handover was conducted peacefully and without incident, underscoring the growing trust and cooperation between local communities and security agencies. Last October, President William Ruto issued a stern warning to anyone in possession of illegal firearms in Baringo County and directed that they surrender them to the police or church leaders. Kilifi County Deputy Commissioner Michael Ololtwa is urging chiefs and assistant chiefs to ensure that learners who sat for the inaugural KJSEA and are yet to join grade 10 are admitted today. Speaking in his office, the commissioner threatened to take legal action against